Chapter 978. This item in my hand belongs to him. It's the private property of the great Jin Emperor. Bai Detian said immediately. The moment Bai Detian said this, the leading elder instantly understood and immediately looked at Yan Chuan. I'm the current sect master of the Archaic Mysteries sect, Yun Exin. Greetings, Yan Di. The old man said politely. Clearly, he had seen Yan Chuan's portrait and recognized him immediately. I've heard a lot about the Archaic Mysteries sect. Sect Master Yun, you're too polite. Yan Chuan smiled. The old man smiled and asked, Yan Di, where did you get the item in Bai Detian's hand? Yan Chuan looked at the world branch and smiled. It's something my father left behind. Left behind? The Archaic Mysteries sect disciples frowned. How did your father get this item? Yun Exin asked again. My father picked it up and brought it here. Yan Chuan smiled. Picked it up? Yun Exin and the others frowned again. How were they supposed to continue asking? Yan Chuan obviously wouldn't tell them the truth. Seeing how troubled they were, Yan Chuan smiled. Yan Di, this item is called the World Branch. It's a keepsake of the sect master of the Archaic Mysteries sect. It belonged to the previous sect master, Yun E. Yun Exin said immediately. Sect Master Yun, you've misunderstood. It's mine, not the Archaic Mysteries sect's. Yan Chuan interrupted. How dare you? That belongs to the Archaic Mysteries sect. You thieves! The disciples behind Yun Exin shouted angrily. Yan Chuan's face turned cold. Yun Exin waved her hand and stopped them from shouting. She turned around and said, Yan Di, please don't blame me for not disciplining them well. Only then did Yan Chuan's expression soften. Yan Di, only fate stealers like us can use this item. Others can't use it at all. Yun Exin said again. Yan Chuan smiled. I like collecting. Sect Master Yun, please don't think about it. Don't think about it? How was that possible? Yan Di, this is indeed the world branch of my Archaic Mysteries sect. Bai Detian can testify. It was accidentally lost by the previous Celestial Arcanum sect head. The old man smiled bitterly. Yan Chuan nodded his head and said, I understand, and I also believe in it. However, the Celestial Arcanum sect was lost in the end. It's like you accidentally found an immortal equipment in a desolate mountain forest. Would you find the descendant of the owner of the immortal equipment and give it to him? Are all of you so noble? Everyone. Yun Exin smiled bitterly. Yama Emperor, this world's branch is extremely important to my Heaven's Mysteries sect, so please accept it. Of course, if there's anything you need, as long as it doesn't go against the beliefs and principles of my Heaven's Mysteries sect, we will do our best to satisfy you. Everyone looked at Yan Chuan. Yan Chuan was silent for a moment. Finally, he took a deep breath and nodded. It's not that I can't give the world branch to the Archaic Arcanum sect, but as long as you agree to my two conditions, I'll give you the world branch with both hands. Yan Chuan took a deep breath and said. Everyone was overjoyed. There's one thing I have to ask for your forgiveness. My Heaven's God creation plan cannot be compromised because of this. Yun Exin said with a frown. Don't worry, I won't go against your beliefs and principles. Yan Chuan nodded. Yan Di is righteous. Yun Exin smiled. First, I hope that before the God creation plan starts, I can stay near the Heavenly Lady and have her sit and discuss the Tao with me for a few months. Yan Chuan said solemnly. Sit and discuss the Tao? Everyone looked at Yan Chuan in confusion. Yes, I won't harass the Heavenly Lady. I just want her to listen to some stories. Even if it's just for 2 hours a day, it's fine. Yan Chuan looked at the Heavenly Lady and said. Stories. The Fate Usurpers. Chapter 979. Tell stories? The Fate Usurpers looked at Yan Chuan blankly. What kind of condition was that? Listen to your stories for a few months? The Fate Usurpers became excited again. Then, they looked at Zhaofeng. Holy Maiden, the branch of the world is no small matter. You know that even in the immortal world, our archaic arcanum sect only has a few branches. Yun Xian looked at Zhao Afang expectantly. Zhao Afang was silent for a while, then finally nodded under everyone's expectant gaze. All right, thank you, holy maiden, Yun Xian said excitedly. Yan Chuan, on the other hand, smiled in satisfaction. Yan Di, the holy maiden, has already agreed to the first condition. Tell us the second one. Yun Xian said again. I haven't thought of the second condition yet. Can you let me think about it? Yan Chuan smiled. Oh. The fate usurpers raised their eyebrows. Of course, before the God creation plan starts, I will definitely say it. And at that time, I will hand over the branch of the world with both hands. Yan Chuan smiled. The fate usurpers frowned. In the end, they nodded. Several days later, in the Sea of Fog, in an extremely exquisite pavilion, on a balcony of the pavilion, several maids were waiting on a jade table in the center. Yan Chuan and Zhao Afang were drinking tea. Yan Di, I've already said that I'm not Zhenro, and I've also gained enlightenment about my previous life. I know who my previous life was, and I'm definitely not Zhenro. Zhao Afang said as he drank tea. Yan Chuan smiled and said, Do you know, although you can't see, your clear appearance is exactly the same as Zhenro's back then. Zhao Afang frowned. Don't worry, I won't force you to admit it. I just want to tell you how I met Zhenro during this time. Yan Chuan smiled. Only then did Zhao Afang relax. Do I look like Zhenro? Zhao Afang asked curiously. Dongfang Jing Pai has already told me that you used mind reading on me, right? Yan Chuan smiled. Zhao Afang frowned. Apparently, he did not expect Dongfang Jing Pai to betray him. But in the end, he nodded and said, That's right. That day, I saw that you were chasing me in a hurry and spread news about me everywhere. So, I came back to find you. But at that time, you were already unconscious, so I had no choice. Seeing Zhao Afang's guilt, Yan Chuan did not blame him. If you can see Zhenro's appearance in my heart, then you will know that your appearance is exactly the same. Even the number and position of your eyebrows are exactly the same. Is there really such a thing in the world? Zhao Afang asked in surprise. Zhao Afang didn't believe that she was Zhenro, but Yan Chuan firmly believed that she was Zhenro. As the two of them chatted, Yan Chuan began to describe everything about Zhenro from the beginning. Just like that, Yan Chuan began to talk about everything about Zhenro every day. Every day, he would talk about different things. It was as long as Yan Chuan spoke, there would be endless stories. East Divine Continent, Julu Academy. At the entrance to the Radiant World, Meng Lingtian looked at the blue-robed man in front of him. Sima Yuntian. It was Sima Yuntian, who had competed with Yan Chuan in the investiture of the gods during the Heavenly Bestowment Conference. At this moment, 72 disciples stood behind Sima Yuntian. Compared to decades ago, each of them was much more refined, and their auras were much more stable. Sima Yuntian was still as heroic as before. Just this aura alone was like a sharp blade that could cut through all obstacles. He was incomparably domineering as he coldly looked at Meng Lingtian. Chapter 980. Dong Fang Zhengpai stood at the side. Old Meng, I've found Sima Yuntian. Haha, old Meng, don't stop me now. Dong Fang Zhengpai said excitedly. Meng Lingtian looked at Dong Fang Zhengpai and smiled bitterly. Finally, he nodded. Forget it. Rotten wood can't be carved. I won't care about you anymore. Old Meng, today I realize that you are really too kind. Your words are like the sun, warming my heart and lungs. Dongfang Zhengpai said in a mushy manner. Meng Lingtian's face twitched. Finally, he said, Shut up. If you continue, go back and copy books. Dongfang Zhengpai's face turned serious. It was as if he hadn't spoken at all. Meng Lingtian? Sima Yuntian frowned at the Immortal in front of him. The 72 disciples behind him also looked at the Immortal in front of them in shock. Sima Yuntian, we finally meet. Your literary style is amazing. Even I can't compare to you, Meng Lingtian exclaimed. Sima Yuntian smiled and said confidently, Meng Lingtian, you didn't call me back just to say this, right? Of course not. Meng Lingtian shook his head. Back then, the founder, Dong Fangbu Bai, found your ancestor somewhere and asked the Jilu Academy to take care of the Sima descendants. At the same time, he left you a secret letter from your ancestor. Meng Lingtian said. My ancestor's secret letter? Haha. Sima Yuntian said in disbelief. How could his ancestor know about him? I know you don't believe me and have a grudge against the Jilu Academy. However, although the Jilu Academy restricted you, they still taught you everything about the Sima family. Furthermore, the founder said that after reading your ancestor's letter, your grudge will disappear. Meng Lingtian said. Ha ha ha, my ancestor wrote a letter to me? How do you expect me to believe that? Sima Yuntian said. Your Sima family has always been the sole heir. The founder left a message in the Radiant World. When it's the 49th generation of the Sima family, he can leave it to you, Meng Lingtian said. Meng Lingtian took out a jade box. Looking at the box, Sima Yuntian felt a connection with it. How could this be? This jade box can only be opened with the blood and will of a Sima family disciple. Outsiders can't open it at all. Meng Lingtian laughed. Sima Yuntian frowned. He no longer looked at the jade box, but at Meng Lingtian. Since it was left to me by my ancestor, you should have given it to me a long time ago, but you delayed it until now? Are you going to use it to return the terms to me? Sima Yuntian asked solemnly. Meng Lingtian nodded his head in satisfaction. Sima Yuntian, you are indeed worthy of being Jilu Academy's #1 mortal sage. Sima Yuntian looked at Meng Lingtian with rapt attention. The world is about to fall into chaos. The Northern Celestial Arcanum sect can also see that a huge storm is about to engulf the entire sealed world. A great calamity is about to befall this world, Meng Lingtian said in a deep voice. Great tribulation? Sima Yuntian narrowed his eyes. Yes, the great calamity. Under the great calamity, the Archaic Arcanum sect, the Jilu Academy, the Archaic sects, the Sacred Grounds, and many other powerful sects will all be annihilated. Meng Lingtian took a deep breath and said. Sima Yuntian was surprised. If my Jilu Academy wants to pass through this calamity, we must plan thoroughly. I have thought about it for a long time. The Jilu Academy should focus on defending the East Divine Continent. With me in charge of the Jilu Academy, I hope that you can represent the Jilu Academy and enter the Great Jin Empire. Everything should be done with the Jilu Academy first, Meng Lingtian said solemnly. Chapter 981. Haha? Enter the Dajin Empire? You want me to be a spy? Sima Yuntian showed a trace of disdain. Something like that. The Great Jin Empire is rather strange. Although I'm not afraid of it, I'm not willing to destroy it. This is because the stronger the sect, the more likely it is to control the fate of the East Divine Continent. Meng Lingtian said solemnly. I remember that Meng Wenruo is your grandson. Isn't he in the Dajin Empire? Sima Yuntian sneered. Yes, but Meng Wenruo is not comparable to Yan Chuan. Moreover, Meng Wenruo's heart is with the Dajin Empire. Meng Lingtian shook his head. Sima Yuntian sneered and did not say anything else. I will try my best to get you the position of Prime Minister in the Dajin Empire. How about that? Meng Lingtian smiled. Prime Minister? Such a high position? What does that have to do with me? Sima Yuntian sneered. That's the condition. I can show you the jade box. You can tell me if the letter is worth the price after you read it. How about that? Meng Lingtian smiled. Sima Yuntian narrowed his eyes. He took the jade box calmly. Looking at the restriction on it, It was true that this restriction required his blood and will to be activated. He forced out a trace of essence blood and dyed the seal red. At the same time, he sent his consciousness into the jade box and it shook violently. Whoosh! The jade box opened. Is this really left behind by my ancestor? Sima Yuntian looked at it in shock. This was because something that required essence blood and will could only be refined by an ancestor of the same bloodline. There was a letter in the jade box. Sima Yuntian took it out. Meng Lingtian looked at the letter curiously, but Sima Yuntian did not show it to him. Sima Yuntian kept the jade box and looked at the letter. The words to Sima Yuntian were written on the cover. This is my handwriting? My own handwriting? Sima Yuntian's expression changed. Oh! Meng Lingtian looked at it curiously. Sima Yuntian's eyes flickered, but he opened it in the end. At the same time, he cast a spell and formed a green mist around him to prevent others from seeing the contents of the letter. When he opened the letter, Sima Yuntian was shocked. I have a special hobby. No matter what I write, when I write the fourth word, I will leave a mark that no one will notice. But the letter in front of him had it as well? Sima Yuntian frowned as he read. 49th generation? Haha, to be more precise, you should be the 49th reincarnation of my current state. In your generation, I should have reincarnated 81 times. Don't doubt it, I am you and you are me. The Sima clan has only one heir in every generation, and when the only heir is born, the elders don't have long to live. This was inevitable, because, after so many generations, it was actually me who was reincarnating. When my son was born and had enough memories, the father would die, and the power of the soul would accumulate in my son's body. I am a special case because in my first life, I put a strange curse on myself. In this life, I am a fate usurper. I have divined many things, but it is still not comprehensive enough. I deduced that I had an extremely powerful first life, but I have an even stronger enemy, and I am also waiting for an extremely important person. Actually, my surname is not Sima, and your surname is not Sima either. We just used a fake surname to blend into the masses. According to my calculations, in my 81st life, I will meet the person I am waiting for. I don't know who I am waiting for, but you will know when the time comes. Also, remember, from the first life we did not believe in Sima. I have divined that our first life was surnamed Li Si. I am Li Si, and you are Li Si. The contents of the letter were very long, but when he read till here, Sima Yuntian was stunned. Who is Li Si? How did I become Li Si? Chapter 982. North Divine Continent. Not far from the Archaic Mysteries sect, a stream of light flashed across the west. Rumble! Rumbling sounds could be heard as more than 300 draconic horses pulled a group of experts over. One of them was the dignified Kong Mok, and the other was the dean of the Western Confucius Academy, Kong Daoqiu. Kong Mok was clad in golden chainmail, and he looked extremely mighty. On the other hand, Kong Daoqiu was clad in white and exuded a faint aura of righteousness. Although he looked calm, there was a hint of ruthlessness in his eyes. Stop! Kong Mok bellowed. The 300 draconic horses suddenly stopped at the peak of a mountain. Kong Mok and Kong Daoqiu landed on a mountain peak. There are still 2 months before it starts. I'll go find Yun Xian first. It's been a long time since we played chess. I'll help you ask about the situation. Kong Daoqiu said lightly. Kong Mok nodded and said, All right, I have some personal matters to attend to. The two separated, and Kong Daoqiu headed straight for the Archaic Mysteries sect. Kong Mok and the rest of his men turned their horses around and rode in another direction. 10 days later. Not far from the Archaic Mysteries sect. In a valley, Ninth Rat was lying on a deck chair with a palm leaf fan in his hand. In front of him was a large group of rats that he had just summoned. Although Ninth Rat had just entered the upper emptiness realm, He was extremely sensitive to news due to his fearful nature. As he lay down leisurely, the large group of rats in front of him quickly reported to him what had happened. Squeak, squeak, squeak. Squeak, squeak, squeak. Squeak, squeak, squeak. Thousands of rats kept reporting to this ancestor of unknown origin what they had seen during this period of time. Ninth rat fanned himself with his palm leaf fan while pinching the rat's beard. His eyes kept darting around. Wait, you said that a group of monks were guarding a valley outside the Ning Chui Palace and killed a large number of your descendants? Ninth rat suddenly pointed at a large rat and asked. The rat seemed to have some experience and immediately nodded. Monks? The North Divine Continent doesn't produce monks. Could it be the Thousand Buddhas' holy ground? And the Ning Chui Palace? The palace master of the condensed jade palace, Ma Daokuan, seems to have a blood feud with the 10,000 Buddhas' holy land? Ren Rat's expression changed. The rat jumped up and down and kept telling the rat about the valley. Ren Rat's eyes gradually came to life. You said that the valley is radiating golden light? Could it be a treasure? That's right, I don't want to participate in that bullshit God creation plan anyway. There are still nearly 2 months left, so I might as well go and take a look. Who knows, I might even be able to steal something while I'm at it. Kakik. Ren Rat jumped up from the recliner. With a wave of his hand, he chased away the group of rats, leaving only the rat that had discovered the monk. After tidying up a bit, Ren Rat said, "Let's go. I'll go with you to take a look." 2 hours later. Outside a valley, there were 10 bald monks standing outside. They stood guard in all directions, not allowing any living beings to approach. Furthermore, the entire valley was enveloped by a large number of formations, isolating it from the outside world. In a distant mountain forest, Ninth Rat pinched its whiskers as its expression flickered. Sure enough, there is a situation. However, this formation is not a problem for my rat race. When I reach the legendary realm, I can even drill a hole in the sky, let alone this lousy formation. Ninth Rat laughed. Squeak, squeak, squeak. The rat that was leading the way squeaked. Chapter 983. Not bad. This spirit stone is for you. Go. Ninth Rat tossed a spirit stone to the little rat and chased it away. The little rat thanked him profusely. Ninth Rat glanced at it and dived into the ground, drilling into the valley. Perhaps it was due to its innate talent. Ninth Rat drilled into the array without any abnormalities. Ninth Rat continued to drill into the depths of the valley. Finally, Ninth Rat drilled into a bush in the valley and revealed a hole. Ninth Rat looked inside. There was a waterfall in the valley and the water was deep and serene. The environment was extremely beautiful. Beside the waterfall was a huge pavilion. There were close to 300 people surrounding the pavilion. In the pavilion, Kong Mok sat on the main seat and a group of subordinates stood behind him. There were soldiers, scholars, and even monks. Sitting beside Kong Mok was a man in a green robe. Ma Daokuan of Ning Chui Palace? Didn't Kong Mok kill Ma Daokuan's son? Don't the two of them have an irreconcilable enmity? Ninth Rat looked at the scene in front of him in shock. Ma Daokuan, you've said so much. In short, you've worked hard these past few years. Kong Mok smiled. Many thanks for your Majesty's kindness. This subject has been undercover in the North Divine Continent all these years, waiting for your Majesty's great cause, so that I can respond to your Majesty and contribute to your Majesty's unification of the world. Ma Daokuan smiled. Ha 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 ha, you've done well. This emperor is about to unify the world and your Ning Chui Palace has established a foothold in the North Divine Continent. You'll definitely be able to help this emperor. You'll be the main contributor to the conquest of the North Divine Continent. Kong Mok laughed. Many thanks, Your Majesty. Ma Daokuan smiled. This time, many heroes have gathered here. This emperor needs to subdue a group of true heroes. Do you have any information on them? Kong Mok asked solemnly. Time is tight, so I can't collect much. Moreover, many heroes are still on the way. Ma Daoquan frowned. No matter, you don't need to collect. This emperor brought over 300 subjects here. Naturally, this emperor is not here for sightseeing. What you need to do now is to help this emperor win the competition and subdue the Celestial Arcanum sect. This is the most important task. Kong Mok said solemnly. Yes. Ma Daoquan. In the distance, ninth rat, who was peeking out from the bushes, opened its mouth in shock. Ma Daoquan is a chess piece sent by Kong Mok to the northern divine continent? Not an enemy? Ren Rat looked at this scene in surprise. Who's there? Kong Mok's eyes narrowed, and he reached out to grab Huang Xiaolong. A huge golden claw appeared in the void and smashed into where ninth rat was. Ah! Ninth rat screamed miserably and went underground. Boom! A huge crater appeared on the ground. There was also a pool of blood. However, the ninth rat was nowhere to be seen. A group of experts immediately gathered around. Earth escape. The faces of the cultivators darkened. Earth escape was not something that all Xiozhi could do. Although Kong Mok was strong, he was not good at earth escape. Amateus Buddha! A monk behind Kong Mok shouted. Prophet Buddha, you have collected the information of heaven and earth. Where did that thief escape to? Kong Mok shouted. Your Majesty, he went east and he escaped very quickly. Just now, Your Majesty's claw injured him. I believe that his cultivation is not something to be afraid of. Your Majesty does not need to worry. This subject will go and handle this matter for Your Majesty. Prophet Buddha said. N. Kong Mok nodded. Prophet Buddha flicked his kasaya and rushed to the sky, flying towards the east. Chapter 984. 3 days later. Somewhere in the forest. Boom! A large number of rocks were sent flying as Prophet Buddha stepped on ninth rat's shoulder with a black Buddhist commandment blade in his hand. Cough, cough, don't do it. I am the temple master of the divine sect Holy Land. Ninth rat immediately begged for mercy. Prophet Buddha frowned slightly. You are ninth rat? Prophet Buddha asked in surprise. Letting go of ninth rat, Prophet Buddha said in a deep voice, Temple Master Ninth, you have good means. Your unique skill in digging holes is unparalleled in the world. There were a few times when I almost lost you with my heaven and earth scavenger. Ninth rat covered his thigh where blood was flowing out and quickly treated it. Damn it, if it weren't for Kong Mok, that son of a bitch, how could you find me? Ninth rat was depressed. Prophet Buddha naturally didn't know what ninth rat was thinking, but he was in a difficult situation. If he didn't know ninth rat, he could just kill him and report back. But now? He had to consider the divine sect Holy Land. Prophet Buddha's eyes turned and he suddenly smiled. Ninth rat? What do you think of my 1000 Buddha Holy Land? 1000 Buddha Holy Land? What's wrong? Isn't it the same as the divine sect Holy Land? Ninth rat endured the pain and frowned. Yes, it's the same. I remember that you just joined the divine sect Holy Land not long ago. The temple masters of the divine sect Holy Land are free to come and go. I see that you have a deep affinity with Buddhism and fate with my 1000 Buddha Holy Land. Prophet Buddha said with a smile. Me? Fate with Buddhism? Ninth rat was surprised. At the same time, a strange thought appeared in his mind. Fate my ass. I have dug dozens of Buddha's graves. Yes, why don't you join my 1000 Buddha Holy Land? I can guarantee that the Holy Lord will agree to let you enjoy the Buddha karmic rank. Prophet Buddha said with a smile. What kind of joke is this? Go to your 1000 Buddha Holy Land and be a bachelor? I still want to build a large harem. Ninth rat immediately refused. Fellow Taoist Ninth, you are the leader of all evil. Prophet Buddha advised. Ninth rat. Holding his injured balls, Hydra rat wished he could slap the Prophet Buddha, who was afraid of death. If you don't join my 10,000 Buddha's holy ground, I won't be able to answer to the great Buddha Emperor. It would be a great pity if fellow Taoist Ren were to perish here in this wilderness. In fact, the great Buddha Emperor quite admires your ability to escape through the earth. The Prophet Buddha said slowly. This was a threat to Ninth Rat. If they didn't submit to the 10,000 Buddha's holy ground, they would die. Ren Rat's face twitched and he shouted, I don't want to be a monk. If I join the great Buddha imperial dynasty, can I marry and have children? Ha ha ha, fellow Taoist Ren, you are indeed an outstanding person. Let's go, I will bring you to meet His Majesty. The Prophet Buddha immediately said with satisfaction. Wait a moment. My injuries are too severe. I need to be treated immediately. If there are any sequelae, it would be terrible. Ninth Rat tried to delay. All right. Prophet Buddha waited for Ninth Rat to heal. Half a day later, while Ninth Rat was recuperating, he was also trying to get close to Prophet Buddha. In the blink of an eye, the two of them were talking about everything. Is it done? Prophet Buddha asked with a frown. Lead the way. Ren Rat shouted. Haha, good. Prophet Buddha flew up and led the way for Ninth Rat. Boom. A loud sound came from underground. Ninth Rat dug a hole and escaped again. Prophet Buddha was stunned. Bastard, you dare to lie to me? Prophet Buddha shouted angrily. Deep underground, Ninth Rat was digging a hole and escaping while cursing. Lie to your grandmother? You almost killed me, and now you want me to submit? Wait until I recover, I will definitely teach you a lesson. I have never suffered such a great loss before. Damn it, I will pay you back 10 times. Ouch. Ninth Rat was still digging a hole in the ground in pain. Chapter 985. Nebo Studio Celestial Arcanum Sect, Misty Sea, Fairy Palace. Yen Chuan, Lu Jin, and Bai Ditian were staying in the side halls of the Fairy Palace. In one of the halls, Yen Chuan was receiving a special guest. A guest who was looking for him. Dong Fong Zhengpai. Yen Chuan did not summon Lu Jin and Bai Ditian. Instead, he looked at the chubby Dong Fong Zhengpai with amusement. The two of them were drinking tea. This tea tastes terrible. However, it contains a lot of yuan qi. Dong Fong Zhengpai frowned as he looked at the tea. Everyone likes it. However, I am curious. How did you find me? Yen Chuan asked curiously. Elder Meng Lingtian, brought me and Sima Yuntian here. We were at the main hall of the Celestial Arcanum Sect when we found out that you were here. The others were playing chess with sect leader Yun and were talking nonsense. I was bored and decided to look for you. Dong Fong Zhengpai said. Oh? Meng Lingtian, Sima Yuntian? Why are they here? Yen Chuan frowned. This has something to do with you. Dong Fong Zhengpai laughed. Don't tell me you're helping Meng Lingtian to persuade him? Yen Chuan took a sip of tea and laughed. Ah ha. You can tell? Even if you can, I am just a scout. You can decide for yourself if you are willing. Dong Fong Zhengpai laughed. Oh! It's like this. Some time ago, Meng Lingtian persuaded Sima Yuntian to enter your great Jin. Of course, Elder Meng has his own motives. He hopes that Sima Yuntian can enter your great Jin and take care of the Julu Academy. It seems like there is going to be a great calamity. Dong Fong Zhengpai did not hide anything from Yen Chuan. Great calamity? Yen Chuan's expression changed. What do you think? Dong Fong Zhengpai asked. Sima Yuntian entering the Great Jin Empire? No matter what the reason is, I can't wait. Yen Chuan laughed. Aren't you worried about Sima Yuntian's motive for coming here? Dong Fong Zhengpai asked. This is not what I should be worried about. On the contrary, this should be what Meng Lingtian should be worried about. Yen Chuan smiled. Dong Fong Zhengpai was even more confused. You're not worried? That's exactly what I want. Why should I be worried? Meng Lingtian also said that he would do his best to cooperate with Sima Yuntian so that he could become the Prime Minister of Dezhen as soon as possible. Prime Minister? Dong Fong Zhengpai said. Prime Minister? According to the rules and regulations of the Great Jin Empire, one must have great achievements to become the Prime Minister. If that's the case, what's wrong with giving him the position of Prime Minister? Yan Chuan said with a smile. Dongfang Zhengpai. Why aren't you worried at all? Dongfang Zhengpai didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Originally, he thought that Yan Chuan would use all kinds of words to push and shove, but why did it seem like he was about to snatch it? Even if Sima Yuntian didn't come to me, I would have gone to him. Our great Jin Empire is thirsty for talents. Now that there's a virtuous paragon willing to accept the position, how could I reject him? Yan Chuan smiled. All right. Anyway, I've done what I came to do. Oh right, I heard Sima Yuntian mention that he wants to change his name. To enter the Great Jin Empire, he wants to change his name along with his surname. How strange. Dongfang Zhengpai drank a mouthful of water and said, Change his name? Yan Chuan asked curiously. Change it to Li Si. I don't know anything else. Dongfang Zhengpai shook his head. Li Si? This name? Yan Chuan suddenly frowned and pondered. Chapter 986. Yan Chuan closed his eyes as if he was trying to capture that fleeting feeling. What's wrong? Dongfang Zhengpai asked. Nothing. I just feel that the name sounds familiar. But I've never heard of it before. Yan Chuan smiled bitterly. Oh. Dongfang Zhengpai did not think much of it. Oh right. Dongfang Zhengpai's eyes lit up. Why don't I join Great Jin? Dongfang Zhengpai's eyes lit up. You? Yan Chuan was surprised. Yes, of course. Based on our relationship, don't work for me. It's best if you don't do anything. Of course, I won't join you. I'll be a junior if I join you. Dongfang Zhengpai exclaimed. Yan Chuan. Don't do anything and still get a salary and providence? Don't even worship the emperor? Do you want to support the emperor? Really? Really? Dongfang Zhengpai asked excitedly. Yan Chuan smiled bitterly. All right, I'll create a new department for you. Don't do anything. You'll get a salary and providence. But it won't be much. Haha, that's good. Don't worry. If there's anything I can solve, just let me know and I'll do it for you. Dongfang Zhengpai said excitedly. All right. Yan Chuan nodded. Oh right, what's this department called? Dongfang Zhengpai asked shamelessly. Let's call it the Special Affairs Department. You'll be the head of the Special Affairs Department. Yan Chuan smiled. All right, that's interesting. Oh right, can I recruit subordinates? Dongfang Zhengpai asked excitedly. Sure. You can decide for yourself. Just don't recruit too many. Yan Chuan smiled bitterly. Of course, Yan Chuan did not care much about the Special Affairs Department. Dongfang Zhengpai had helped him a lot in the past. He would treat it as giving Dongfang Zhengpai some pocket money to return the favor. Anyway, it wouldn't cost him much spiritual stones or providence. Haha, alright. I'm the head of the Special Affairs Department of the Great Jin Empire. Is there anything you need me to help you settle? Dongfang Zhengpai said smugly. No. Yan Chuan said directly. Think about it. This is possible. Think about anything. Dongfang Zhengpai wanted to continue that sense of accomplishment. Well, I really don't. Whatever you want to do, I'll leave it up to you. Yan Chuan smiled bitterly. Dongfang Zhengpai. No matter what, from today onwards, Dezhen had another department, the Special Affairs Division. A department that was looking for trouble. Tianji sect, south of the Misty Sea, in a valley with dense elemental energy of heaven and earth. There were some large halls in the valley. Kong Mok was looking at the information his subordinates had gathered from all over the place. Blood Seal sect, True Self sect? Kong Mok looked at the information. Not far from Kong Mok, the Prophet Buddha felt bitter. Prophet? You're back? Kong Mok looked at Prophet Buddha and asked. Your Majesty, I'm incompetent. I let ninth rat escape. Prophet Buddha said bitterly. Ran away? If he ran away, then so be it. He's just a scoundrel, Kong Mok consoled. After all, the Prophet Buddha was one of Kong Mok's more important people. Thank you, Your Majesty. Prophet Buddha smiled bitterly. Your Majesty. An official from outside the hall entered. What's wrong? Kong Mok asked curiously. Just now, Palace Lord Ma Daokuan sent a letter. As he has to cooperate with Your Majesty, he can't come. The official handed over a letter. Chapter 987. Kong Mok read the letter. After a while, Kong Mok's pupils constricted. Yen Chuan brat. Kong Mok slammed the letter on the table. Pa! Kong Mok's eyes flashed with anger. Your Majesty, what's wrong? Prophet Buddha asked. Kong Mok handed over the letter. Prophet Buddha quickly skimmed through it. Hiss? Yen Chuan, he's shameless enough to take a shortcut to the fairy palace? Prophet Buddha said in a low voice. There are two arbitrators in this selection, the archaic arcanum sect master and the fairy. Yen Chuan is shameless enough to try to win the fairy's favor? Taking this shortcut? Kong Mok said coldly. Your Majesty, what are your plans? My plans? I want Yen Chuan dead. Kong Mok said coldly. Your Majesty is wise, this subject also thinks so. This Yen Chuan is growing too fast. He must be eliminated as soon as possible, otherwise, he will become a huge threat. Even, Prophet Buddha said with a frown. Even what? Kong Mok said in a low voice. Your Majesty, do you still remember Kong Susu? Yen Chuan's mother, the woman who competed with you in the past? Prophet Buddha said. Kong Susu? So what? Kong Mok said in a low voice. Your Majesty, please forgive this subject's disrespect. The Kong family supports Your Majesty because of Kong Susu's defeat. However, that Yen Chuan is Kong Susu's flesh and blood, half of his blood is from the Kong family. Your Majesty, this subject is worried that if Yen Chuan's performance is too outstanding, will the Kong family's support for Your Majesty waver? Prophet Buddha said in a low voice. Kong Mok's mind buzzed. Then, his eyes turned red. But Kong Mok smashed the table beside him into pieces. Yen Chuan must die as soon as possible, Kong Mok said coldly. Your Majesty, once Yen Chuan convinces Zhao Afang, and I'm talking about once the archaic arcanum sect executes the god-making plan on Yen Chuan, it will be difficult for Your Majesty to kill him. At that time, the Kong clan won't let you take action, Prophet Buddha said in a low voice. Kong Mok's breathing quickened. Get ready. Follow me immediately to kill Yen Chuan, Kong Moku said coldly. Yes, the Prophet Buddha replied. Fairy Palace. Yen Chuan once again met with the Heavenly Maiden alone. They sipped tea and listened to Yen Chuan reminisce. These days, although the Heavenly Maiden couldn't see, her expression was warped by Yen Chuan's moving stories. Yen Chuan, your story is truly moving. Unfortunately, I am not Zhen Rou. Zhao Afang shook his head and advised. Zhao Afang was worried that he would play the role of Zhen Rou, so he changed the topic and told Yen Chuan to stop talking about his longing for Zhen Rou. Yen Chuan looked at Zhao Afang and smiled bitterly. Although I know you don't have any memories of Zhen Rou, I still want to tell you. Do you know why? Zhao Afang frowned. Because my intuition tells me that you are Zhen Rou, Yen Chuan said with certainty. Yen Di. Zhao Afang was a little angry. Yen Chuan immediately interrupted. Listen to me first. I won't force you to believe me, but this is my intuition. Please don't deny it. After saying so much, I actually have something I want to do. What is it? Zhao Afang frowned. Whether my intuition is wrong or not, it can be verified. The World Branch knows best whether we were husband and wife in our previous lives. If you really want to refute my idea, let the World Branch judge it. It has recorded everything in the past. I think you will use it. As long as it can verify whether we were husband and wife in our previous lives, I, Yen Chuan, will immediately turn around and leave. How about it? Yen Chuan said with a firm gaze. Chapter 988. Whether my intuition is wrong or not, it can be verified. The branch of the world knows best whether we were husband and wife in our past lives. If you really want to refute my idea, let the branch of the world decide. It has recorded everything in the past. I believe you will use it. As long as it can verify whether we were husband and wife in our past lives, I, Yen Chuan, will immediately turn around and leave. How about it? Yen Chuan said with a firm gaze. Looking at the branch of the world that Yen Chuan handed over, Zhao Afong frowned deeply. The atmosphere suddenly froze and Zhao Afong fell silent. Yes, as long as the branch of the world investigated, the truth would be revealed. But at this moment, Zhao Afong hesitated. After interacting with Yen Chuan, Zhao Afong had mixed feelings. At this moment, Zhao Afong did not know what he was thinking. Did he hope that Yen Chuan was right, or that Yen Chuan was wrong? You are the life usurper, use the branch of the world. Yen Chuan took a deep breath and said. Zhao Afong clenched his fist and trembled, but in the end, he did not accept it. Do you know? Zhao Afong suddenly recalled. What? I actually came from the Immortal realm. The Immortal realm also has a celestial arcanum sect. This is just a branch. Zhao Afong took a deep breath and said. So what? Yen Chuan did not care. Zhao Afong smiled bitterly and said, I reincarnated with the memories of my past life. In my past life, I was a disciple of the celestial arcanum sect in the Immortal realm. That is why I could reach my current level in such a short time. Moreover, once the God Creation Project begins, I will return. Yen Chuan frowned. These days you have told me these stories. Actually, I already knew that your past life did not belong to this world. You should have reincarnated from the Immortal realm. Zhao Afong asked. Does it matter? Yen Chuan frowned. Zhao Afong shook his head and said, Yes, but the conditions for the God-making plan are harsh. The celestial arcanum sect of this world, for the sake of their stubbornness, can only support the primordial bloodline and soul of this world. In other words, even if your soul is from the celestial world, you are not qualified to participate in the God-making plan even if you have the bloodline of this world. I don't really care about their God creation project, but if you use the world tree to infer that your soul came from the world of immortals, you will no longer have the right to participate in the God creation project. Yun Xian will discover it very soon, Zhao Afong said solemnly. Yen Chuan raised his eyebrows. If you persist, you will lose a great help, Zhao Afong said solemnly. At this point, Yen Chuan, who was standing by the side, laughed. What are you laughing at? Zhao Afong frowned. I'm happy because I realized that you're starting to believe me. You're starting to believe that you're Zhenro. Yen Chuan said, gratified. You. Zhao Afong raised his eyebrows in irritation. Yen Chuan took a deep breath and said, I understand what you're saying, but so what? I, Yen Chuan, am not going to compromise for a God creation project. I still insist. I hope that you can activate this world tree and prove what I said. Zhao Afong fell silent again. Zhao Afong had his own belief. Or rather, the Celestial Arcanum sect had long instilled in Zhao Afong's mind. However, Yen Chuan's appearance had impacted this belief and even destroyed it. Zhao Afong felt extremely close to Yen Chuan during this period of time. It was an indescribable feeling, as if the thing he desired the most had appeared. Chapter 989. Use the branch of the world? If he confirmed what Yen Chuan said, he would crumble. If he could not confirm what Yen Chuan said, he would lose the desire in his heart. For a moment, Zhao Afong did not dare to take it. He shook his head. Zhao Afong fell silent. Yen Chuan seemed to have seen through Zhao Afong's misgivings. He gently put away the branch of the world and said, I can see that you have misgivings and difficulties, but I will soon prove my resolve to you. I hope that when you see my resolve, you will accept everything I say. Prove? Zhao Afong frowned. Yen Chuan smiled faintly and didn't continue on this topic. Let's not talk about Zhenro. Let's talk about you. Do you have any wishes? Yen Chuan asked with a smile. Changing the topic made Zhao Afong feel much more at ease. At the very least, he had become much more open with Yen Chuan over the past few months. Wishes? My greatest wish is to see this colorful world, Zhao Afong said with a bitter smile. I can't see with my eyes. I use the mind's eye to see the world. Although I can see more clearly than others, there is no color. My world is black and white, cold and cheerless. Zhao Afong said with a bitter smile. No color? Haha, in truth, the most beautiful color is one's own emotions. Yen Chuan said with a smile. Emotions? Emotions are the creators of color. You might not have experienced it, but I believe that you will one day experience it. At that time, you will be able to see all the colors in the world. Yen Chuan consoled. Zhao Afong nodded, not quite understanding. Outside Fairy Palace, fog pervaded the air. Kong Mok led a large group of experts to the perimeter of Fairy Palace. Your Majesty, the array has been set up. Once Your Majesty gives the order, the array will activate and isolate the perimeter of Fairy Palace. No matter how great the commotion inside, it will not be able to travel out. A subject solemnly said. Kong Mok nodded. Activate the array. Let's go. Kong Mok ordered. With that, Kong Mok led the 5 experts into the Fairy Palace. The other officials around them quickly activated the array formation. Buzz. Suddenly, a formation appeared around the Fairy Palace. It was as if a transparent cover had formed around the palace. Yen Chuan, who was talking to the Holy Maiden, suddenly raised his eyebrows and looked up at the sky. Holy Maiden's expression sank. The two immediately stood up. Boom. A powerful aura shot toward the Fairy Palace. In the surrounding side halls, Bai Ditian, Lu Jin, and Dongfang Jingpai's expressions all darkened. They quickly stepped out of the main hall and headed towards Yen Chuan. Boom! A gust of wind blew past, and 6 figures suddenly appeared in front of Yen Chuan and Zhao Afong. Kong Mok, the Prophet Buddha, and the 4 Upper Void Realm experts stared coldly at Yen Chuan. Kong Mok? Yen Chuan's face darkened. Behind him, Bai Ditian, Lu Jin, and Dongfang Jingpai had all arrived. Little bastard, you are indeed here? This is not your great Jin Empire. There is no golden dragon of providence for you to command. Kong Mok said with a gloomy expression. Kong Mok? Do you know where this is? How dare you be so impudent in my place? Zhao Afong's expression changed. Kong Mok looked at Zhao Afong and said, Holy Maiden, I will apologize to you in the future for today's actions. However, today Yen Chuan must die. How dare you? Zhao Afong immediately rebuked. Yen Chuan smiled and said, Holy Maiden, let me do it. Chapter 990. Zhao Afong frowned slightly. Yen Chuan stood in front of the Heavenly Maiden. Things were different now. How could Yen Chuan stand behind a woman and let her protect him? Kong Mok? You want to kill me? Yen Chuan smiled coldly. Kong Mok smiled coldly. That's right. You must die today. Do you think Bai Ditian can protect you? Dream on. Among the group of people here, only Bai Ditian was recognized by Kong Mok. Kong Mok knew Lu Jin. After all, he had collected a lot of information on Dejun over the years. She was just an old eunuch. How big of a commotion could she cause? Yen Chuan did not waste his breath. He stretched out his hand and attacked first. Oh no. The Buddha's expression changed. Kong Mok's expression darkened, but he did not care. Instead, he also attacked Yen Chuan with his palm. Boom. Kong Mok did not use his full strength, but Yen Chuan used a lot of strength. The power of his palm was extremely vast. Moreover, in order not to hurt the Heavenly Maiden Temple, Yen Chuan suppressed all the aftershocks in Kong Mok's direction. Boom! Kong Mok was sent flying. The Buddha! Kong Mok, who was sent flying. Kong Mok's 4 subordinates. Kong Mok was not injured. He was stunned by this scene. How could it be? He was at the upper void stage, while Yen Chuan was at the intermediate void stage at most. How could he be sent flying? He originally thought he could kill Yen Chuan by stretching out his hand, but he was sent flying? Kill! Yen Chuan ordered and charged towards Kong Mok. Boom! Lu Jin's horsetail whisk suddenly swung out at an upper void stage cultivator who was still in a daze. Bai Ditian, on the other hand, stepped forward and charged towards the Buddha. Bai Ditian was at the 10th level of the upper void stage. He was extremely powerful. In just an instant, he appeared in front of the Buddha. His hand formed a claw, and a white light flashed past. The Prophet Buddha's expression changed drastically as he took out his kasaya. However, in front of Bai Ditian, it was like an ordinary piece of cloth. Rip! The monastic robe was torn apart, and the claw light slashed across the chest of the Prophet Buddha. Ah! Prophet Buddha cried out in pain as Bai Ditian tore off a large piece of flesh from his chest. How is that possible? Let's attack together! Prophet Buddha exclaimed. The expressions of the 4 upper void stage martial artists also changed drastically, and they quickly charged over. Boom, boom, boom! Bai Ditian and Lu Jin fought against the 5 upper emptiness realm cultivators. For a moment, the battle was intense. Under the powerful collisions, a storm was created, and rumbling sounds could be heard. Bai Ditian and Lu Jin were fiercely suppressing the 5 upper emptiness realm cultivators. On the other side, Yen Chuan charged towards Kong Mok. Around Yen Chuan, star-like energy balls revolved around Yen Chuan as they spun rapidly. They carried a powerful aura as they charged towards Kong Mok. Yen Chuan held the Emperor's sword in one hand and the Jade Dharch sword in the other as he charged towards Kong Mok. Stars and sword auras surrounded him. This made Yen Chuan's aura even more ferocious. You want to kill me? I want to kill you too. Kong Mok, you asked for it. Die. Yen Chuan charged ferociously. Kong Mok's mouth was agape as he looked at this scene in shock. Impossible! Kong Mok couldn't believe this magical scene no matter what. Of course, Kong Mok couldn't just sit there and wait for death. He brandished his sword and clashed with Yen Chuan. Rumble! Rumble! Bai Ditian killed 4th brother. 4th brother! Explosions rang out in the great formation where sand and pebbles flew about as the massacre continued. A group of upper void stage martial artists were fighting with all their might. Outside the array formation, Kong Mok's subordinates were working hard to stabilize the array formation. The array formation trembled. It seemed like it would collapse at any moment. One of Kong Mok's subordinates laughed and said, "Ha ha! His Majesty must be torturing Yen Chuan to death." That's right, Your Majesty is invincible. Right now, Yen Chuan must be helpless. The Immortal trapping array is already like this. The battle inside must be exciting. Ah. Chapter 991. Rumble. Dust rose around the fairy palace as sand and rocks flew everywhere. The battle between the upper void realm cultivators shook the Immortal trapping array. The officials of the Great Buddha Empire stabilized the Immortal trapping array and mourned for Yen Chuan. In everyone's eyes, Kong Mok was definitely the one who was trampling on Yen Chuan and the others. Everyone knew about Yen Chuan's information. Previously, in the Great Jin Empire, he had only relied on the Golden Dragon's providence. Everyone was only guessing how long Yen Chuan would last. 2 hours, 4 hours, 6 hours later, the officials of the Great Buddha Empire could no longer remain calm. Something's not right. Why is it taking so long? One of the officials frowned. Just as everyone was frowning, an angry roar came from the sea of fog. How dare you be so presumptuous in my archaic sect? His furious roar soared into the sky as he charged toward the fairy palace. Who? In an instant, a large number of experts gathered from all directions. Not good. Your Majesty, quick! The people from the archaic sect are here. One of the officials shouted towards the array. At the same time, the various sect leaders who were invited rushed over after hearing the angry roar. Rumble! Countless cultivators rushed towards the fairy palace. Yen Ran became the center of attention in the fairy palace. Inside the immortal trapping array, 8 upper void realm cultivators were fighting fiercely. Lu Jin only cooperated with Yen Chuan and Bai Ditian. Most of them stayed out of the battle. The main reason was because Bai Ditian and Yen Chuan were strong. Bai Ditian tore an upper void realm cultivator apart. Yen Chuan also used his sword to kill an upper void realm cultivator. One sword pierced through the brain and the other through the heart. When the two swords clashed, the upper void realm cultivator was completely cut into pieces. The vine demon entangled an upper void realm cultivator, making him unable to move. Ah! The upper void realm cultivator struggled in fear. Boom! A large number of vines rushed towards the upper void realm cultivator, wanting to tear him into pieces. Only 3 people were left. Bai Ditian fought against 2 upper void realm cultivators. Yen Chuan, on the other hand, was fighting Kong Mok. Boom! 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 Yen Chuan's and Kong Mok's swords clashed, creating a huge impact. Lu Jin protected the others on the periphery. Impossible! How did you suddenly become so strong? Kong Mok exclaimed. Kong Mok was not an ordinary upper void stage cultivator, and he was a powerful cultivator at the 7th level of the upper void stage. However, he was actually unable to do anything to Yen Chuan. Furthermore, he was actually suppressed by Yen Chuan's ferocious might? That was impossible. How old was this bastard? When Yen Chuan's sword clashed with Yen Chuan's saber, Yen Chuan's expression became even more ferocious. Roar! Yen Chuan roared. The ball of light that seemed to revolve around Kong Mok's body crazily crashed into his energy shield. Boom! Like a meat grinder, it twisted Kong Mok's defense. Yen Chuan suppressed Kong Mok ruthlessly. Kong Moku, there's a path to heaven, but you refuse to take it. Today, you're the one who delivered yourself to me. Although I can't kill you in front of everyone, as long as I can avenge my parents, I won't hesitate to do anything. Rumble. The heavenly cycle stellar technique pressed down on Kong Mok's energy shield. Bastard! Bastard! Kong Mok roared unwillingly. Just as Kong Mok was struggling, a voice suddenly came from outside. Oh no! Your Majesty, quick! The archaic mysteries sect is here. The voice inside could not be heard, but the voice outside could be heard. Hearing the voice, Kong Mok's expression changed. Chapter 992. While he was distracted, one of the stars around Yen Chuan suddenly broke through his defense and appeared in front of Kong Mok. Smack! That star hit Kong Mok's face and made a crisp slap sound. A slap? Kong Mok's expression was extremely ugly. Your face is thicker than the city walls. My stars have shattered, but your face is still intact? Yen Chuan said in surprise. Bastard! Kong Mok was instantly enraged after being slapped in the face. And at this moment, above the immortal trapping array, suddenly, a huge white palm print descended from the sky. Boom! The huge palm slammed down, causing the entire sea of fog to boil. The Buddhist official looked at the sky with his mouth agape. Boom! The huge palm print pressed down on the immortal trapping array. Bam! The formation was crushed. More than 100 great Buddhist ministers who had been stabilizing the formation were sent flying backward by the countercurrent, each of them coughing up blood. Poof! Poof! Everyone fell to the ground. The array was broken. An immortal? Only an immortal can break it from the outside. Is this an immortal's attack? A cultivator on the ground exclaimed. Once the array was broken, a powerful force rushed inside the array. Boom! The people who were fighting inside were all pushed back by this powerful aura. They all tried to protect themselves, but they were all pushed back. Yan Chuan's eyes flashed with a strong sense of indignation. Bai Detian saw that he could kill another person, but he had no choice but to dodge. Boom! The Vine Demon also released an Upper Void Realm cultivator and quickly surrounded the Heavenly Lady and Dongfang Zhengpai to prevent them from getting hurt. Whoosh! A strong wind blew past, blowing away the sand and dust. An elder in a white Taoist robe appeared above everyone. He held a horsetail whisk and looked down coldly. It was the Archaic Mysteries sect master, Yun Xin. Dozens of people quickly gathered behind Yun Xin, including Sima Yuntian, who Yan Chuan knew. He was the current Li Si. Li Si stood beside Meng Lingtian. He looked curiously at the scene in the west. There was another person beside him, Kong Daoqiu from the Confucius Lu Academy. He was also looking down with a frown. 2 dead and 3 injured. Apart from Kong Mok, who was in a slightly sorry state, everyone else had suffered a painful blow. More and more cultivators gathered from all directions, including the disciples of the Archaic Mysteries sect and the experts from all over the place. Yun Xian frowned and looked down coldly. Immortals? Yun Xian was actually an immortal? Yan Chuan stared at Yun Xian in surprise after putting the Vine Demon away. Goddess, are you all right? Yun Xian looked at Zhaoafang sternly. Zhaoafang shook his head. Yun Xian immediately looked at the wailing people on the ground. More than 100 people had been injured by his palm. Finally, he looked at Kong Mok. Yun Xian squinted her eyes. Just when she was about to ask, Kong Daoqiu called out first. Kong Mok, what are you doing? Do you know where this is? Kong Daoqiu scolded. Kong Daoqiu's rebuke made Yun Xian fall silent for a while. Kong Mok looked at Kong Daoqiu with an ugly expression, then looked at Yan Chuan's group with a gloomy face. Goddess, Sect Master Yun, I have offended you. Kong Mok sighed gently. Clearly, he could not kill Yan Chuan now. The great Buddha Emperor? I want to know what's going on. Yun Xian said sternly. Kong Mok sucked in a deep breath and said, This is a personal grievance between me and Yan Chuan. I didn't want to alarm everyone. A personal grievance with Yan Chuan? Must you settle it in the fairy hall? Yun Xian said coldly. Chapter 993. Kong Imoku frowned. Kong Imoku, you are not welcome here. Please leave immediately. Zhaoafang said coldly. Kong Imoku, why aren't you going back? Kong Daoqiu immediately shouted. Although he was scolding Kong Imoku, everyone could tell that he was protecting Kong Imoku. He did not want the situation to worsen and disrupt his plan. Countless cultivators in the surroundings revealed curious expressions. Kong Imoku had just been slapped in the face again. Now, he was flustered and he was even scolded. He immediately felt suffocated. He looked at Yan Chuan hatefully, then at the officials he brought with him. In the end, he snorted coldly and said, Let's go. Kong Imoku quickly left with his officials. Clearly, Yun Xian did not want to let the matter rest. However, Kong Daoqiu said, Sect Master Yun, I have offended you this time. I will definitely discipline him properly. Later, I will get Kong Imoku to apologize to the Archaic Mysteries sect. Yun Xian looked at Kong Daoqiu and frowned. In the end, she nodded and did not pursue the matter. Holy daughter, are you all right? Yun Xian looked at Zhaoafang. Zhaoafang shook her head and said, I'm fine. You all go ahead. I will clean up here myself. Yun Xian nodded. On account of Kong Daoqiu, Yun Xian slowly led the group away. Before leaving, Kong Daoqiu glanced at Yan Chuan in surprise. Li Si and Meng Lingtian were slightly surprised as well. However, they still left with Yun Xian. The only people left behind were the experts from the various sects, as well as the various sect leaders who had been invited. Holy daughter, what happened earlier? A sect master called out. The others all looked over. Zhaoafang frowned. Clearly, she did not want to say anything. You go back first. Leave this to me. Yan Chuan said softly. All right. Zhao Afang nodded and retreated to the undamaged palace. The other sect masters immediately frowned. At the same time, they looked at Yan Chuan's group with hostility. Just as Yan Chuan was about to step forward, Dongfang Zhengpai suddenly said, Yan Chuan, you have been fighting for so long. Leave this to me. No matter what, I am the director of the Special Affairs Department. How can I not handle such a small matter? Dongfang Zhengpai said with a wink. Looking at Dongfang Jing, Yan Chuan nodded. He would leave this place to Dongfang Jingji. After all, to Yan Chuan, there was no need for him to explain himself to these people. However, Dongfang Zhengpai felt that this was an opportunity to perform. Yan Chuan, Bai Ditian, and Lu Jin retreated to the main hall that was still intact. Only the Eastern Orthodox faction remained. You're the one from the Julu Academy. One of the sect masters recognized him immediately. That's right, I am the great Confucian Dongfang Zhengpai. Dongfang Zhengpai nodded. What happened just now? Also, how can they live near the fairy palace? One of the sect masters frowned. What happened just now? Can't you see? The Celestial Arcanum Sect's God creation plan is a fair competition. The Heavenly Lady and sect leader Yun are the judges. However, there are despicable people who want to find another way and destroy this fairness. Dongfang Zhengpai said. What? Kong Mok wants to destroy the rules? One of the sect masters shouted angrily. Isn't that so? Everyone had a chance to participate in the God creation plan. However, Kong Mok was a despicable villain. He actually set his sights on the Holy Daughter, and even set up a grand formation to trap this place. Dongfang Zhengpai said. Is that so? Someone asked suspiciously. Of course. I am a scholar. How can I lie? Dongfang Zhengpai said with a straight face. Everyone looked at Dongfang Zhengpai suspiciously. Chapter 994. Then tell me, how is Kong Mok going to break the rules? Is it enough to trap her here? How is he going to force her to agree? Someone frowned. Can't you see? She's trapped by the array. If Yan Chuan and I were not here, Kong Mok would have succeeded. Dongfang Zhengpai shouted. You almost succeeded? Is he going to use her innocence to threaten her? Someone suddenly thought of something. Innocence? The innocence of the Heavenly Maiden? Kong Mok wants to do something beastly? Instantly, many cultivators were enraged. Dongfang Zhengpai was feeling smug when he suddenly felt that something was wrong. Yan Chuan seemed to have an ambiguous relationship with the goddess. If he continued on this topic, wouldn't he be tarnishing her reputation? Wouldn't he be letting Yan Chuan down? No, he had to protect her reputation. Dongfang Zhengpai immediately shouted, No, it's not what you think. Actually, Kong Mok has a vicious secret technique to refine people into puppets. He wants to control the goddess. Dongfang Zhengpai explained. A secret technique to control people? How can there be such a secret technique? He must be trying to threaten her with her innocence. Someone said in disbelief. As soon as that person said that, many people followed suit and agreed. Dongfang Zhengpai was dumbfounded. They didn't believe him. What should he do? Seeing that everyone was filled with righteous indignation, Dongfang Zhengpai gritted his teeth and threw out another bombshell. Sai, you've misunderstood. Kong Mok really wants to use a vicious secret technique. As for her innocence, it's impossible. Because... Dongfang Zhengpai said with a troubled expression. Because what? Everyone looked at Dongfang Zhengpai. Because Kong Mok is into men. Dongfang Zhengpai gritted his teeth and said. Everyone. Men? Everyone looked at Dongfang Zhengpai in confusion. Of course. When he trapped us, he even said that he liked me. He said that he would kidnap me and make me his concubine after this matter was over. I almost vomited. Dongfang Zhengpai said shamelessly. Everyone looked at Dongfang Zhengpai and widened their eyes. You vomited? I even vomited. Do you think Kong Mok would be interested in that fat pig of yours? Furthermore, Kong Mok mentioned a few names when he was in the formation, such as the sect leader of the Blood Sealing sect and the sect leader of the True Self sect. They were all Kong Mok's next targets. Dongfang Zhengpai continued. What? Bastard! 2 angry shouts came from the crowd. Everyone looked over. However, the 2 people in the crowd were so angry that their faces turned red. Dongfang Zhengpai's eyes lit up. So it's Sect Lord Blood Sealing and Sect Lord True Self. You two should be careful in the coming days. This Kong Mok is not human. Brat, what nonsense are you talking about? The 2 of them said angrily. Dongfang Zhengpai looked hurt. I didn't say it, it was Kong Mok. I'm in the same boat as you. You should know that no one would slander themselves for no reason. It's really Kong Mok. His taste is too disgusting. Take care of yourselves. Bastard. The sect leader of the Blood Sealing sect said angrily. Oh, that's right. I remember Kong Mok also said that there's no one he can't get his hands on. You two be careful. Let's work together. Dongfang Zhengpai sighed. Let's work together? The dozens of sect leaders thought about Dongfang Zhengpai's words and shivered. Everyone, let's be careful. Kong Mok has a group of lackeys who search for people for him. Dongfang Zhengpai shouted. Suddenly, a cultivator's expression changed. No, I remember now. One of Kong Mok's subordinates has been wandering around my base recently. As soon as that person spoke, everyone's gazes turned to him. Dongfang Zhengpai said with a worried expression. Fellow cultivator, you should pray for yourself. Dongfang Zhengpai's words made that cultivator break out in cold sweat. Kong Mok, you pervert! That cultivator shouted angrily as if he had been greatly humiliated. The gazes of the people around him became sympathetic. At this point, Dongfang Zhengpai had completely demonized Kong Mok in everyone's heart. The masculine Kong Mok? One could imagine how much blood Kong Mok would spit out when he heard the news. Asking for leave. I'm very sorry. Sometimes, when Guanxi caught a cold, he would update while sick. However, this time was different. His family's elder was critically ill, and he had to ask for leave. Sorry. Leave notice Guanxi's grandmother passed away. I'm asking for leave for 3 days. Chapter 995. 4 days later, south of the Celestial Arcanum sect. At Kong Mok's base, Kong Mok looked at the Prophet Buddha. Prophet, how are your injuries? Kong Mok asked. Thank you for your concern, Your Majesty. I'm much better now. By Detian, I didn't expect him to be so powerful. 10th level upper void stage? I can't even hold my own against him. The Prophet Buddha smiled bitterly. Kong Mok took a deep breath and nodded. Yan Chuan has been lucky all these years. Your Majesty, it seems that our people who are scattered all over the place have been attacked for some unknown reason recently? Prophet Buddha asked curiously. Kong Mok frowned and nodded. That's right. At first, I thought it was Yan Chuan's doing. However, after a few dozen attacks, I realized it couldn't be Yan Chuan's doing. The people who attacked us are from all over the continent. It can't be Yan Chuan's secret force. Then why? We didn't get any benefits in the fairy palace. Why are we being ostracized? I'm not sure. The injured people said they were enraged when they saw them. There's no explanation at all. Just when the 2 of them were at their wits' end because of the inexplicable blow to the great Buddhist minister, Your Majesty! Your Majesty! Cries of agony came from outside the hall. Soon, a group of people carried an official covered in blood into the hall. Beloved official, how are you? Kong Mok quickly went forward. The heavily injured official's face was covered in blood as he said, Your Majesty, I'm useless. I went to the Blood Sealing sect to seek an audience with the sect master of the Blood Sealing sect. However, the sect master of the Blood Sealing sect attacked me without saying a word. I only managed to escape in a hurry. I didn't complete your Majesty's mission. I couldn't persuade the sect master of the blood-sealing sect to surrender. Kong Mok's face twitched. In the end, he comforted the official. You've worked hard. Rest well. Yes. Everyone retreated. Only the Prophet Buddha remained. The two of them looked at each other. They were panicking. You have to find out what's going on. Kong Mok was enraged. Yes. The palace master of the Jade Palace requests an audience. A report came from outside the hall. Ma Daokuan? Why is he here? Didn't we ask him to secretly assist His Majesty in obtaining first place? Prophet Buddha asked with a frown. Let him in. Kong Mok was also confused. Soon, Ma Daokuan entered the main hall. She was none other than the palace master of Ningchui Palace, who had been discovered by Ninth Rat and Kong Mok not long ago. The moment Ma Daokuan entered the main hall, he immediately bowed and said, Greetings, Your Majesty. Daokuan? Why are you here? Kong Mok frowned. Your Majesty, I've heard some bad news about Your Majesty. Your Majesty's subjects have been attacked many times, so I had no choice but to come. Ma Daokuan said anxiously. Do you know the reason? Kong Mok glared. Yes, Your Majesty. You've been slandered by Yan Chuan. Now, all the sect leaders fear you like snakes and scorpions. Ma Daokuan said anxiously. Yan Chuan? Slander? What's going on? Kong Mok frowned. Slander? A slander was enough to make all the sect leaders stand together against him? What kind of slander was that? Yan Chuan instigated the Eastern Orthodox faction to slander you. Ma Daokuan didn't know what to say. Say it. I'll pardon you. Kong Mok said anxiously. Say it. You're a man. Ma Daokuan looked at Kong Mok with a hint of curiosity in his eyes. A man? Kong Mok didn't react for a moment. Chapter 996. However, Kong Mok reacted quickly and shouted angrily, What? Bastard, I'm going to wipe out your entire family. Kong Mok roared at the top of his lungs. Ma Daokuan repeated what Dongfang Zhengpai had said that day, word for word. Bam! Kong Mok's eyes were bloodshot as he smashed the chair beside him. Lustful? You're interested in that fat pig from Dongfang Zhengpai? And you want to snatch that fat pig back to be your concubine? Hearing this, Kong Mok had the urge to vomit blood. No wonder. Prophet Buddha smiled bitterly. No wonder those faction leaders looked at the people from the great Buddha Empire like snakes and scorpions. This kind of slander was too despicable and filthy at the same time. Kong Mok was so disgusted that he wanted to go back and kill them. Your Majesty, it's good that you didn't. Ma Daokuan sighed. What? Even you suspect me? Kong Mok said angrily. No, I'm just thinking about how to resolve this slander. Ma Daokuan said immediately. Humph. Kong Mok was angry, and the two of them knew that, so they didn't care about Kong Mok's snort. Your Majesty, the plan to create a god is nearing. We have to get rid of this slander. Prophet Buddha said immediately. Then what do you think we should do? Kong Mok frowned. Your Majesty, I came here on my own accord to resolve this slander. If Your Majesty clarifies the matter, the faction leaders will not believe it. Therefore, I think it's best for Your Majesty to clarify this matter. At the same time, I'll criticize Yan Chuan's evil intentions on Your Majesty's behalf and let the faction leaders be wary of Yan Chuan. Ma Daokuan said. Kong Mok nodded. Your Majesty, after Ma Daokuan's explanation, I'll bring some people to visit those factions that attacked us. On one hand, we'll seek justice for our people. On the other hand, we'll pardon their wrongdoings at the right time to buy favors and make preparations for Your Majesty to take them in. Prophet Buddha said. All right. I'll leave this matter to you. Kong Mok nodded. Yes. The two of them left the hall. Standing in the middle of the hall, Kong Mok thought of that fat pig Dongfang Zhengpai. His face twitched. That fat pig actually said that he wanted to take him as his concubine. We will definitely exterminate your entire clan. Kong Moku's eyes were filled with anger. Ma Daokuan's movements were extremely fast. While the surrounding sect leaders were demonizing Kong Mok to the extreme, Ma Daokuan timely cleared Kong Mok's name and pointed the spearhead at Eastern Orthodox sect. They said that this person was extremely despicable and shameless. In a valley outside the archaic Arcanum sect, Renshu, who had been injured by Kong Mok not long ago, once again summoned a group of rats to gather information. Haha, Kong Mok? To think that you would have such a day. This Dongfang Jing sect is indeed a member of my generation, Ren Rat said excitedly. Not long ago, the grudge of his egg being injured was still fresh in Hydra's mind. Although ninth rat was slapped to death, it was also extremely narrow-minded. Seeing Kong Moku suffer, it naturally took pleasure in his misfortune. Squeak, squeak, squeak. A fat rat reported again. Hearing Big Rat's report, ninth rat's eyes rolled again. The wise Buddha brought a group of people to visit the encampments of the major sects? Could it be that he wants to dissolve this slander? Ma Daokuan cleared Kong Mok's name? Haha, the time for Rat Grandpa to take revenge has come. Wise Buddha? On the day when Rat Grandpa was injured, you chased me for so many days and still told me that sex is the leader of all evil? Bah, let's see if Rat Grandpa doesn't kill you. Ninth Rat's face revealed a trace of hatred. Chapter 997. Sealing Blood Sects Encampment. Inside a large hall. At this moment, a group of practitioners was standing. Everyone looked at the person leading them. Sealing Blood Sects Sect Master, why did you call us here? What life and death matter? Everyone frowned and looked at the man leading them. The man leading them looked at everyone and said, Greetings, Sect Masters. Today, I invited everyone here, not because of my own intentions, but because of someone else's request. Moreover, this matter concerns our honor, we need to face it together. The 9 sect masters frowned and looked at Sealing Blood Sects sect master. At this moment, a green-robed practitioner walked out from the side hall. It was Ren Rat. Let's have Hall Master Ren say it, Sealing Blood Sects sect master said solemnly. Ren Rat nodded and looked at the 10 powerful sect masters. Everyone looked at Ren Rat. Ren Rat took a deep breath and said, I have some friendship with Sealing Blood Sects sect master, so I came here to inform him. Later, Sealing Blood Sects sect master said that he wanted everyone to face it together, so I called everyone here. What's the matter? A scarlet-red practitioner shouted. Ren Rat glanced at him and said, Scarlet-red sect master? Just like the rumors, fiery temper. Let me introduce myself first. Does anyone recognize me? Scarlet-red sect master raised his eyebrows and said, Who are you? Someone recognized him. You are Divine Sect's Sacred Grounds Ren Shin Hall Master, Ren Rat? That's right. Ren Rat nodded. Scarlet-red sect master frowned. After all, to everyone, Sacred Grounds were of the same level as high-level sects. When a Sacred Grounds Hall Master spoke, the credibility was relatively high. Ren Shin Hall Master? What's the matter? Someone said. Taking a deep breath, Ren Rat said, Does everyone still remember the matter of Fairy Hall 8 days ago? Ha, of course I remember. Eastern Orthodox sect slandered Kong Moku, which disgusted the surrounding sect masters. They made such a big joke. Scarlet-red sect master laughed. Slander? Ren Rat revealed a disdainful smile. And? Everyone frowned and looked at Ren Rat. The Julu Academy and Confucius Lu Academy are the oldest academies in the world. Every great Confucian in the Julu Academy is full of righteousness. Confucian cultivators like them value their reputation the most. Why would the Eastern Orthodox need to defile others? What good would it do him? Ren Rat asked. He's a great scholar, a scholar. Although I've never seen him before, His reputation is quite high in the divine sect's sacred ground. He's righteous and never lies. He's the founder of the Julu Academy, the descendant of Invincible East. Would he defile himself? Renrat said with certainty. Everyone raised their eyebrows. There was a hint of wavering. But, 3 days ago, Palace Master Ning Chui and Ma Daoquan personally cleared Kong Mok's name. Ma Daoquan and Kong Mok have a grudge against each other for killing his son. Moreover, Kong Mok has never heard of such news before. The Crimson Sect Master said with a frown. Ha ha, rumors? Would Kong Mok spread this kind of news? Renrat said disdainfully. Everyone frowned and looked at Renrat. I don't know if everyone knows that not long ago I was chased by Prophet Buddha? Renrat said in a deep voice. I know about this. I even saw with my own eyes that Prophet Buddha chased after you. Not only me, but many sect masters should know about this. After all, you were in a stalemate for several days. Fengshua sect master said. Could it be that Kong Mok also took a liking to you? The Crimson Sect Master's eyes widened in surprise. Chapter 998. Renrat shook his head and said, Of course not. That day, I bumped into Kong Mok and Ma Daoquan's good deed. Everyone was surprised. All of you know that Ma Daoquan and Kong Moku have irreconcilable enmity. Why would Ma Daoquan speak up for Kong Moku? Renrat said disdainfully. Why? Everyone already had an answer in their hearts, but they still didn't believe it. Actually, not long ago, I saw with my own eyes how Kong Mok subdued Ma Daoquan. Because of that, I was chased for millions of miles. At that time, Kong Mok hurriedly put on his clothes, so he sent his lackeys, the Prophet Buddha, to kill me to silence me. Fortunately, I escaped in the end. Everyone, all the sect leaders felt a chill run down their spines. Was this for real? Kong Mok conquered Ma Daoquan? Thinking of this, everyone felt their hair stand on end. That's not right. The Prophet Buddha just visited me yesterday. He even abandoned our grudge against him. A sect leader frowned. Renrat sneered and said, That's because Kong Mok wants to do to you what he did to Ma Daoquan. What? The sect master jumped up in anger. And everyone, actually, when I bumped into Kong Mok, it was because I heard your names that I gathered all of you. Don't you all feel that you are much more handsome than ordinary people? Renrat said. Preposterous. The Scarlet-Red Sect Master was instantly enraged. Great Confucian wouldn't sully his own reputation. I, Renrat, am the Palace Master of Divine Sect's sacred ground. Why would I lie to you? You've all been deceived by Kong Moku, Renrat said earnestly. Everyone's brows furrowed into a frown. You can't defeat the Prophet Buddha, sigh. Renrat sighed for everyone. Reporting. A voice came from outside the palace. Come in. Sect Master Feng Shui frowned. Soon, 2 disciples came in. Sect Leader, this is the Scarlet Sect Leader's disciple requesting an audience. One of them shouted. Disciple, why are you here? The Scarlet-Red Sect Master frowned. Sect Master, the Prophet Buddha came to seek an audience today. We told him that you weren't here, but he still left a letter for you. The disciple cried out. You're still as perverted as ever. Renrat sneered. The Scarlet-Red Sect Master had a fiery temper. He immediately rushed over and tore the letter that his disciple sent over. Bastard, how dare you! Where is that ignorant prophet? The Scarlet-Red Sect Master shouted in rage. I think he went to the True Self sect at that time, the disciple shouted. Bastard, he went to my sect? Another sect leader in the hall said angrily. Reporting. Another outer sect disciple came in to report. It was also the news of the Buddha. At the side, 9th Rat sneered inwardly. Uncle Rat analyzed your route, and that's why I invited all their sect masters here. Humph, Prophet Buddha? You'll suffer later. Reports of bad luck kept coming in. The faces of the sect leaders were extremely ugly. At the same time, he broke out in cold sweat. Under normal circumstances, Kong Mok's hobby could be treated as a joke. However, when it came to them, it was not as simple as a joke. All the people who had reached the upper emptiness realm felt a chill in their hearts. They even felt their scalps go numb. Sigh, everyone, that's all I have to say. As for how to resolve this, you'd better be careful. Ninth Rat said with a sigh. Reporting. Sect Master, the Buddha Prophet requests an audience. Another disciple rushed into the hall. What? The sect leader's face changed. Immediately, the sect leader remembered that the Dongfang Jingji sect had mentioned him that day. As long as Kong Mok had his eyes on something, there was nothing he couldn't get. The sect leader's face turned red with anger. Bald donkey, you're courting death, the sect leader said angrily. Everyone in the hall was also filled with righteous indignation. The Prophet Buddha is a very useful pawn of Kong Mok. Not only is he powerful, but his wisdom is also extraordinary. It can be said that he is brave and resourceful. It seems that the process of Ma Daokuan being conquered was planned by the Prophet Buddha. Everyone. Ninth Rat added fuel to the fire. Everyone immediately felt darkness in front of them. Kill this pervert, the sect leader said with bloodshot eyes. Okay. The group of sect leaders shouted in unison. Chapter 999. Blood-sealing sect's encampment. Prophet Buddha and his 10 disciples were standing at the outer plaza. One of the disciples frowned. Master, we went to 6 sects encampments in a row, but none of the sect leaders are here. Could something have happened? Shaking his head, Prophet Buddha said, No, the first few sects we went to, weren't they normal? Don't be impatient, working for His Majesty is your fortune. If you can form good karma now, it'll be a merit for the great Buddha Empire. Yes. The disciples calmed down. The 10 disciples calmed down, but Prophet Buddha was a little annoyed. 6 times in a row, I hope it's just a coincidence. On the mountain, there was a formation set up to prevent outsiders from seeing what was going on, but those on the mountain could see what was going on. Ren Rat led the 10 sect leaders to look at Prophet Buddha. The 10 sect leaders' faces turned red, their eyes spitting fire as they looked down. This bald donkey has guts, let's go kill him together. Scarlet Red sect's leader shouted. Wait. Ren Rat suddenly shouted. Everyone looked at Ren Rat. Everyone, I know that all of you still have some doubts about me. Ren Rat said. Doubts? What doubts? Scarlet Red sect's leader was puzzled. Although the other 9 sect leaders were furious, they still had some calmness. I'm sure everyone knows that Prophet Buddha went to your encampments for the same reason he came here. Why don't we let blood-sealing sect's leader go down and ask him personally? Ren Rat asked. Everyone looked at Ren Rat in surprise. They had some doubts before, but now that Ren Rat was so honest, their doubts were mostly gone. What's there to ask? Just kill this pervert, Scarlet Red sect's leader shouted. Ren Rat shook his head firmly and looked at Blood-Sealing sect's leader. I know Blood-Sealing sect's leader doesn't want to talk to him, but please verify it for everyone. After we go down, Prophet Buddha will definitely beat around the bush. If you don't want to say anything, just ask yourself, does Kong Mo want to take me as his concubine? Everything will be clear. Just ask him if he wants to take you as his concubine. The results will be out soon. Blood-Sealing sect's leader was embarrassed. Ask this question? Who could open their mouths? However, looking at the expectant gazes of the other sect leaders, as well as their collective indignation, sect leader Feng Xuan nodded his head in order to verify the truth. Under everyone's gazes, the Blood-Sealing sect master flew down. What he didn't know was that Ninth Rat's words just now had a hint. Although Ninth Rat only emphasized one question, he added another question that could be replaced. Everyone stared intently below. When the Blood-Sealing sect master landed, the Buddha of Prophets saw him and his eyes lit up. That bright gaze made Sect Master Feng Shui feel extremely disgusted. Prophet greets Sect Master Blood Sealing Sect. Prophet Buddha stepped forward with a smile. Greetings, Prophet Buddha. Why have you come? The Blood Sealing Sect's Sect Master suppressed his disgust and said, I am here on behalf of His Majesty. Blood Sealing Sect Master, are you not going to invite me to your residence? Prophet Buddha asked politely. Sect Master Feng Shui frowned. No need, Prophet Buddha, I just want to ask you a question. Blood Sealing Sect Master, please speak. Prophet Buddha was slightly puzzled. Kong Imoku, do you want to take me as your concubine? Blood Sealing Sect's Sect Master asked. But at this moment, he couldn't bring himself to say the words concubine. Chapter 1000. Not to mention the group of sect leaders behind him, there were also many disciples in his own sect. Concubine? Concubine my ass. Even saying that out loud was disgusting. His reputation might be ruined just like that. After choking for a while, he still couldn't bring himself to say the word concubine. He could only choose one of the two questions. Does Kong Mok want to take me as his concubine? The Prophet Buddha was slightly stunned. The Prophet Buddha could see the difficulty in the Blood Sealing Sect's sect leader's word. There was also a trace of hesitation and even a slight struggle in his mind. The Prophet Buddha didn't know about Rinshu's provocation earlier. When the Prophet Buddha saw this, he immediately felt a trace of excitement. Could it be that the Blood Sealing Sect's sect leader is taking the initiative to submit to my empire? As the group of sect leaders waited on the mountain, the Prophet Buddha finally spoke. Our great Buddha imperial dynasty is famous in the West Divine Continent, and even the 10,000 Buddha's sacred ground is closely allied with us. His Majesty is talented and bold, and he will definitely unify the world in the future. There are countless heroes in the world, but not many can catch his attention. His Majesty values you very much, and as long as you are willing, he will definitely not treat you badly. Your Blood Sealing Sect will be valued by His Majesty because of you. As long as you are willing, His Majesty will definitely welcome you with open arms. The Prophet Buddha said with a smile. Welcome you with open arms? That was an idiom used to describe how welcoming a guest was. As long as a guest came, he would give up his master bedroom to the guest and his bed to the guest to rest in with the greatest etiquette. The Prophet Buddha meant that Kong Mok would definitely be extremely welcoming and respectful. However, at this moment, the Blood Sealing Sect's sect leader felt that it was extremely grating. The truth was revealed. This Kong Mok was indeed perverted. On the mountain, Rinshu was slightly stunned. He didn't expect the Prophet Buddha to be so cooperative. He was immediately overjoyed. I heard that Son of Heaven Mok is extremely domineering. He hasn't even arrived yet, and his lackey is already so brazen? Welcome you with open arms? He even prepared the bed. How disgusting! That day the great scholar was right. Kong Mok will do anything to achieve his goal. There is no one he can't get. Sigh, there is no one he can't get. Rinshu continued to provoke. Bald donkey, pervert, I'm going to kill you. The Scarlet Red Sect's sect master shouted angrily. Everyone had a herd mentality. The Crimson Sect master's shout completely dispelled everyone's doubts. Roar. The group of sect masters was instantly enraged. At the foot of the mountain, Buddha Prophet was talking excitedly. Suddenly, he saw Sect Master Feng Shui's face turn ashen. He was puzzled. Sect Master Feng Shui, what happened to you? What's wrong? This sovereign will kill you. Blood Sealing Sect's sect master immediately grabs his large blade and slashes down with a loud bang. What are you doing? Prophet Buddha was shocked. At the same time, 9 powerful auras rushed out from the array not far away. All of them were at the upper emptiness realm? Bald donkey die. The Scarlet Red Sect Master was the first to roar. Hand over your life. Die. Rumble. The furious killing intent of the 10 upper emptiness realm cultivators instantly swept towards the Prophet Buddha. Wait a minute, what's going on? Prophet Buddha's expression changed greatly as he tried to block the attack. Rumble! However, the 10 sect masters had already straightened out everything and understood everything. How could they have the time to explain it to him? Master, save me! A disciple Jiaohu shouted. Rumble! Chapter 1001. How could this group of people escape from the encirclement of 10 upper emptiness realm experts? Other than the Prophet Buddha, the others were instantly killed. Bastards, you are all crazy! The Prophet Buddha resisted in a sorry state. Die! Torrential flames. The Scarlet Sect leader immediately took out his treasure and released scorching flames. The Prophet Buddha was besieged by 10 upper emptiness realm experts and immediately fled in fear. However, 10 upper emptiness realm experts besieged one person. How could they let him escape? He could only take out his Buddhist commandment blade and resist in the chaos. Rumble! The battle became more and more intense. For a moment, a large number of mountains and rivers were shattered and gravel soared into the sky. The powerful movement immediately made the other sect leaders puzzled. They all rushed to the center of the battle. Even Kong Mok frowned when he heard the sound of the enormous impact. What happened? Kong Mok frowned slightly. However, he still flew to the sky with a group of officials and flew to the distant battlefield. When Kong Mok arrived, a large number of cultivators had already gathered around. It's the Prophet Buddha? One of the officials exclaimed. In the battlefield, the Prophet Buddha was in a sorry state. His right hand that was holding the Buddhist commandment blade was cut off and thrown away. His upper body was frozen and his lower body was charred. He waved an alms bowl in his hand and resisted the attacks of the 10 upper emptiness realm experts with difficulty. The Prophet Buddha was on the verge of death. Roar, His Majesty will definitely avenge me. The Prophet Buddha shouted angrily. This was the most inexplicable battle. Was he going to die without knowing what happened? The Prophet Buddha was extremely depressed. Bastard, stop! Kong Mok suddenly shouted. Kong Mok rushed into the battlefield with a group of officials. Boom! Kong Mok's strength was indeed powerful. With a fierce attack, the battlefield was instantly messed up. Under the huge force, the 10 sect leaders were instantly forced to retreat. Of course, strength was only one aspect. The 10 sect leaders were traumatized when they saw Kong Mok and retreated in fright. The 10 sect leaders looked at Kong Mok in shock and doubt. It was as if they were afraid that they would fall into Kong Mok's hands. Pooh! Your Majesty, thank you, Your Majesty! The Prophet Buddha spat out a mouthful of blood and cried out bitterly. What happened? Why are they besieging you? Kong Mok shouted. I don't know. The Prophet Buddha said gloomily. Kong Mok's eyes hardened as he turned to look at the 10 sect leaders. Why did you kill my subjects? Kong Mok asked coldly. Why? Kong Mok, you pervert! The Scarlet Red Sect Master was instantly enraged. Don't be afraid. Today we'll execute this demon on the spot. Sect Master Feng Shui said angrily. Although Kong Mok's eyes were fierce, he was at a loss. Had these people lost their minds? Prophet Buddha, how have you been? Suddenly, a voice came from the side. Everyone looked over, only to see Ninth Rat slowly walk over to where Prophet Buddha's severed arm was and remove the Buddhist commandment blade from it. Renshu? It's you. Prophet Buddha immediately understood that it was definitely Ninth Rat who instigated it. However, he did not understand how it was done. Kong Mok also looked at Ren Rodent coldly. But Ninth Rat stared at Prophet Buddha and said, Prophet Buddha, your lower body has been roasted to a crisp by the Crimson Sect Master. The Prophet Buddha glared at Ren Rat. I remember when you were chasing me that day, you told me that you were the leader of all evils. Do you still remember? Ninth Rat asked. When the experts heard Ninth Rat's question, they were at a loss for a moment. They did not know what he was trying to say. Ninth rat continued, I'll return this Buddhist commandment blade to you. Your thing is already charred. Take this opportunity to cut it off yourself. After the Buddhist commandment blade was thrown away, everyone followed Ninth rat's words and looked at the Prophet Buddha's charred lower body. The Prophet Buddha. Chapter 1002. Fairy Palace. Yen Chuan was in the side hall. Sima Yuntian, who was now Li Si, stood in front of Yen Chuan. Meng Lingtian stood beside Li Si and smiled at Yen Chuan. Lu Jin stood respectfully behind Yen Chuan. Dongfang Zhengpai stood on both sides. Yen Chuan has already agreed. Li Si, you have to thank me. Dongfang Zhengpai said with a smile. If Dajin can get Li Si, it's like getting an arm. Yen Chuan said with a smile. Li Si looked at Yen Chuan and frowned. He didn't know why, but he suddenly felt a sense of familiarity. This feeling didn't come from the Julu Academy's Wenduel. It was as if there was a sense of familiarity. Yen Chuan, Li Si is a paragon of the Julu Academy. If I let you have him, what position will you give him? Meng Lingtian said with a smile. Yen Chuan looked at Meng Lingtian and took a deep breath. Dajin didn't have a prime minister position because there hasn't been a candidate that I'm satisfied with. I've seen Mr. Li Si's abilities, and he's indeed extraordinary. Since Mr. Li Si is interested in the position of prime minister, then let's start with the position of senior secretary. From today onwards, I appoint Li Si as the senior secretary of the prime minister's residence. He'll be a grade 5 official. A God investiture decree was issued. The fortune clouds in the distant Yen capital suddenly surged violently. Your subject, Li Si, greets your majesty. Li Si bowed respectfully. Yen Chuan accepted the bow and Li Si bowed. At this moment, both of them frowned. It was as if there was some kind of resonance between the bow and the acceptance. It was as if everything was supposed to be like this. Li Si and Yen Chuan both revealed a trace of surprise. What's wrong? Meng Lingtian asked curiously. Li Si immediately turned around and shook his head. Nothing. I'll have to trouble you with the archaic sect leader. All right. Meng Lingtian nodded with a strange look on his face. After sending Meng Lingtian off, Li Si still looked at Yen Chuan with a complicated expression. Yen Chuan naturally understood the Julu Academy's intentions. When Li Si entered Dezhen, he would at most be a visiting professor. However, Yen Chuan was confident that one day, Li Si would definitely enter Dezhen. Li Si, we understand your capabilities. However, in the Great Zhen, we have to make a name for ourselves through meritorious deeds. Therefore, we can only wrong you for the time being. Yen Chuan said with a smile. Your Majesty worries too much. Since I've entered Great Zhen, I naturally understand my position. From today onwards, Your Majesty doesn't need to care about my other identities. From today onwards, I'm the chief clerk of Great Zhen's Prime Minister's estate. If Your Majesty has any instructions, feel free to let me know. Li Si smiled. Looking at Li Si, Yen Chuan nodded in satisfaction. What are Meng Lingtian and Kong Daoqiu doing at the heart of the clouds? Yen Chuan asked curiously. Not just the two of them. Zhu is also at the heart of the clouds. Your Majesty should know that the God-making plan this time is basically the Archaic Mysteries sect attaching itself to a certain hero. Using the special ability of fate cultivation, it will assist and nurture an ancient godlike existence. Li Si explained. Ancient godlike existence? Yen Chuan frowned slightly. Like goddess Zhichen, or the immortal world's ambitious hero, Jingming, not long ago. Although the Archaic Mysteries sect rarely travels the world, its foundation is extremely solid. Especially in the immortal world, it's one of the great powers that watches over the world tree. It's not an exaggeration to use all their strength to create a god. Li Si said in a low voice. Meng Lingtian, Kong Daoqiu, and Zhu are accompanying the heart of the clouds so that they can get more attention from the clouds. Your Majesty will be competing among the heroes next. Similarly, Meng Lingtian, Kong Daoqiu, and Zhu will also be competing among the upper echelons. All of this is to increase the importance of the Archaic Mysteries sect leader. Li Si explained. Chapter 1003. Oh? So, winning the championship is just one of the reasons? Winning the championship may not be enough to gain the recognition of Archaic Arcanum sect? Yan Chuan narrowed his eyes. Yes. Li Si nodded. After a moment of silence, Yan Chuan looked at Li Si again and said, God-making plan? He, Li Si, I want you to gather information on the experts from all over the world. I need to expand my forces in this competition. Yes, Li Si replied. Blood Sealing Sect's encampment. I'll return this Buddhist commandment blade to you. That thing of yours is burnt. Take this opportunity to cut it off yourself. The Buddhist commandment blade was thrown away. Everyone followed Rinshu's words and looked at the burnt lower part of Prophet Buddha. Prophet Buddha! Ha! Ha ha! Ha 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 ha! The laughter of countless cultivators could be heard from all directions. Prophet Buddha's face flushed red. He pointed at Rinshu and trembled. Pooh! He spat out a mouthful of blood. You scoundrel again, Kong Mok said coldly. Rinshu naturally retreated to the side of the 10 sect masters. Kong Mok, I saw everything before you injured me. Rinshu shouted. You saw everything? So what if you saw it? Do you think you can escape today? Kong Mok said coldly. Escape? Why should I escape? With Ma Daoquan as an example, do you think the sect masters will ignore him? If we don't work together today, the sect masters here will be the next Ma Daoquan. Rinshu rebuked angrily. Kong Mok didn't understand what was going on. Everyone, now is the best time. If you don't want to be Kong Mok's concubine, then kill him. Kill Kong Mok here. Rinshu suddenly shouted. His concubine? The 10 sect masters suddenly quivered. Kill. Scarlet Sect Master was the first to fly into the sky. Kill. The 10 sect masters rushed forward together. Kong Mok's face changed. The faces of the officials also changed. They immediately went up to meet the attack. The faces of the sect leaders who were watching from all directions changed. Concubine? Kong Mok's concubine? What did that have to do with the Scarlet Red Sect and the Blood Sealing Sect's sect masters? In an instant, countless Xiozha thought of the words of that person in Dongfang Jing sect. Could it be true? Someone asked in surprise. Ma Daoquan became Kong Mok's concubine? Someone was petrified. Rumble. The 10 great sect masters immediately charged forward without any regard for their lives. One by one, they took out their magic treasures. For a moment, a storm raged in the surroundings. Sand and pebbles flew everywhere. Countless cultivators retreated again and again. As for the 9th rat, who was shouting the loudest, under the sudden chaos, it drilled into the ground. After the time it took for an incense stick to burn, 1,000 miles away from the battlefield, 9th rat emerged from the ground. Looking at the chaotic battlefield in the distance, 9th rat sneered, Humph! Bastards, are you crazy? Kong Mok roared amidst the chaos. Protect His Majesty! Ah! Help! This inexplicable battle lasted for an entire day. Kong Mok sacrificed more than 100 of his subordinate. He returned to his encampment with grievous injuries. As for the disciples of the 10 great sect masters, more than half of them were killed or injured. 4 of the 10 great sect masters died. It was obviously impossible for Kong Mok to subdue these people. Before he left, Kong Mok gradually understood everything. Back at his encampment. Bang! He smashed a tea set with a palm. 9th rat, Yan Chuan, I must kill you! Kong Mok roared with red eyes. Chapter 1004. Prophet Buddha picked up his severed arm and reattached it, but the injuries on his body were not something that could be healed in a short period of time. He bitterly said, "Your Majesty, I did not expect Renshu to be as shameless as the Eastern Orthodox sect. Two sluts." Kong Mok gritted his teeth. Just as the two were fuming, a white-robed man walked in. It was Kong Daochio. Kong Daochio frowned and looked at Kong Mok. "Kong Mok? How did you do it? Didn't I tell you? The God Creation Plan competition has already started. The disciples of the Archaic Mysteries sect have already recorded all of your performances. I told you to increase your prestige during this period of time, to stand out among the heroes and subdue as many sects as possible. But what about you? You stood out, but you did such a dirty thing? You're a man? You fought over a man? Even if you're embarrassing yourself, don't do it here." Kong Daochio said angrily. Kong Daochio was furious, but Kong Mok was even more furious. He had not done anything, he had been slandered. He had been slandered by two sluts. After taking a few deep breaths, Kong Mok did not know how to reply to Kong Daochio. "I'll help you suppress Yun Xan. Don't let anything happen during this period of time," Kong Daochio said with a frown. Kong Mok's face twitched. It was as if he was purposely causing trouble. Kong Daochio flung his sleeves and left, leaving behind a gloomy Kong Mok. "Your Majesty, things have not been going well for us recently." Prophet Buddha sighed with a frown. "It's all Yen Chuan's fault. If it wasn't for Yen Chuan, there wouldn't be so much trouble," Kong Mok said with a trace of hatred. "Your Majesty suddenly has a feeling," Prophet Buddha said bitterly. "Our current situation might not be over yet," Prophet Buddha said with a strange tone. Ma Daoquan's Ningxue Palace was a middle sect in the North Divine Continent. It was also a chess piece that Kong Mok had placed in the North Divine Continent. Ningxue Palace was not far from the Archaic Mysteries sect. At this moment, a group of uninvited guests had arrived outside Ningxue Palace. The two leading them were Mohina Dojin and Yang Zigu of the Great Revelation Sacred Ground. Behind Mohina Dojin and his son, there were more than 200 black-robed figures. Each of them was emitting an extremely evil aura. The 200 black-robed figures landed on the summit of a mountain. The evil aura they emitted caused the surrounding flowers and trees to wither instantly. "Father, according to the news from the Archaic Arcanum sect, this congealed jade palace is Kong Mok's chess piece?" Yang Zigu asked coldly. And Mohina Dojin nodded. In the past, Kong Mok brought 20 Upper Void Realm experts to the Great Zhao Holy Ground, wanting to subdue us and snatch our Great Zhao Holy Ground. "Father, are you going to take revenge today?" Yang Zigu asked curiously. "That's right. Kong Mok?" "Humph." Mohina Dojin snorted coldly. "Target Ning Chui Palace. Raze it to the ground. Leave no one alive. Kill, kill, kill," Mohina Dojin ordered. "Yes." The black-robed figures behind him replied stiffly. Boom. The 200 black-robed figures charged forward. In an instant, the evil aura around the 200 black-robed figures soared to the sky. Before they arrived, the sky had already been dyed black by the evil aura. The sky darkened in an instant. The group of Ning Chui Palace disciples immediately noticed the abnormality. Two of them instantly rushed out and charged towards the group of black-robed figures. "Stop! Who are you?" one of them shouted angrily. Boom! The two Ning Chui Palace disciples who rushed out first were instantly smashed into pieces by a black-robed figure's palm. Chapter 1005. Outside the Celestial Arcanum Sect, Congealed Jade Palace's base. A group of disciples stood in front of Ma Daoquan with their heads lowered, as if they were reporting something. "Bastards, a bunch of idiots!" Ma Daoquan roared in shame. Kong Mok was the main character of this incident, and Ma Daoquan's image seemed to be even worse. Hearing the reports, Ma Daoquan's face turned black. This slander was too despicable. The disciples were submissive and didn't dare to say anything. Just as Ma Daokuan was about to continue raging, his expression suddenly changed, and he turned to look towards the southeast. Not good, there's a change in congealed Jade Palace's virtue cloud ocean. Ma Daokuan's face changed. Stepping forward, Ma Daokuan was about to go back, but when he turned around, he frowned and said, "You go inform the great Buddha Emperor that someone wants to destroy my congealed Jade Palace. I'll go back first." Yes. The disciple was at a loss. Who? Ma Daokuan brought a group of experts and quickly headed towards congealed Jade Palace. The disciples looked at each other in dismay. Kong Mok's base. What? Someone wants to destroy congealed Jade Palace? Who? Yan Chuan? Renshu? Kong Mok's face sank. I don't know. Master has already gone and asked me to report to the great Buddha Emperor, the disciple said respectfully. Kong Mok's face was gloomy. Your Majesty, congealed Jade Palace is a middle sect and this place isn't too far from congealed Jade Palace. If someone wants to destroy congealed Jade Palace, it means that the person is strong. Your Majesty should be careful, Prophet Buddha said while dragging his injuries. Strong strength? Humph, I have a stomach full of anger during this period of time. He's courting death. Kong Mok's face turned cold. Gathering a large number of officials, Kong Mok quickly headed towards congealed Jade Palace. Congealed Jade Palace. Rumble. 200 black-robed people's evil aura surged into the sky as they crazily attacked the formation. The congealed Jade Palace's formation shook. Impossible, even 10 5th-level upper void realm experts can't break my formation. This. A congealed Jade Palace disciple cried out in terror. Boom. Under another impact, the grand formation shattered with a loud bang. Kill. The 200 black-robed men roared in unison. In an instant, each of them brandished their pitch-black swords. Once the evil chi was released, it instantly dyed the surrounding void black. The entire Ning Chui Palace was shrouded in an evil aura. Help! Impossible! Inside congealed Jade Palace, screams of agony continued. The 200 black-robed men displayed an extremely demonic strength. It was a one-sided massacre as they crazily massacred the disciples of Solid Jade Palace. Kill, 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 kill. Mohina Dojin and Yangzigu stood at the peak of a mountain and looked coldly at the scene before them. In the congealed Emerald Palace, there were several million disciples. In an instant, their internal organs and limbs were sent flying, and their blood was turned into mist by the experts. The entire congealed Emerald Palace was shrouded in blood mist. Father, in the past few decades, the strength of this group of people has been raised by you to the upper void stage? Father, you're too amazing, even Jingming in the past couldn't compare to you. Yangzigu cried out excitedly. Mohina Dojin smiled with satisfaction, but he still shook his head and said, Don't speak ill of Jingming. Yangzigu didn't understand. Narrowing his eyes, Mohina Dojin sighed slightly and said, The current me is still not her match, but one day we will reach the same height as her. We? Yangzigu was at a loss. Mohina Dojin shook his head and didn't explain. Chapter 1006. The two of them continued to watch the massacre. Whoosh! A ray of light shot over from afar. Ma Daokuan had arrived at Ning Chui Palace with a group of experts. Ma Daokuan was enraged when he saw the massacre. Bastard! Bastard! Ma Daokuan roared as he took out his saber and charged into the battlefield. Boom! He forced a black-robed man back with his saber. However, the black-robed man quickly reacted. One of them might not be able to defeat you, but 10 of them? Roar! The group of black-robed men charged at Ma Daokuan. In the blink of an eye, Ma Daokuan's group was dragged into the battlefield. Humph! Mohina Dojin sneered. Ah! Palace Master, save me! Ah! Cries of agony could be heard. The black-robed men were all at the upper void realm. Although they were the weakest upper void realm, There were 200 of them. How could a middle-level sect be a match for them? Kill, kill, kill. When Kong Mok arrived, Ning Chui Palace was almost completely wiped out. Kong Mok brought more than 100 officials with him. His expression changed. The black-robed men destroyed Ning Chui Palace? They destroyed his forces in the North Divine Continent? Roar. Kong Mok roared angrily. Your Majesty, save me! Ma Daoquan roared in the battlefield. Attack! Kong Mok shouted. Yes. Boom! A group of experts charged into the battlefield. Kong Mok also charged into the battlefield. Mohina Dojin's face lit up with joy. Protect my son! Mohina Dojin shouted to the black-robed men behind him. Yes. The group of black-robed men replied. Whoosh! Mohina Dojin charged into the battlefield and appeared in front of Kong Mok in the blink of an eye. Mohina Dojin, it's you! Kong Mok's eyes flashed with anger. Mohina Dojin sneered. Kong Mok, it's impolite not to reciprocate. Don't leave a single one alive. Kill them all. Yes. The black-robed man with an evil aura immediately rushed forward. Kill them! Kong Mok shouted coldly. Yes. A group of officials quickly rushed into the battlefield. However, Kong Mok soon discovered that something was amiss. That was because those black-robed men were simply too powerful. Rumble! In the blink of an eye, Kong Mok's subordinates were all suppressed. Today, none of you can leave. Mohina Dojin sneered. Might of the sun! Mohina Dojin shouted, and a huge golden light shot down from the sun, instantly enveloping Mohina Dojin. Mohina Dojin's body was covered in flames. Purple Star. Kong Emoku also activated the power of the stars. Suddenly, the Emperor's star shot out a dazzling light. Mohina Dojin and Kong Emoku fought fiercely. Boom! A monstrous storm swept up in all directions. Kong Emoku and Mohina Dojin were in a deadlock, while the black-robed men were constantly slaughtering Kong Emoku's officials. Your Majesty, save me! The officials cried out in Jiaohu. Among the officials, Palace Master Ning Chui could no longer hold on and was killed by the 10 black-robed men. The 10 victorious black-robed men quickly rushed in front of Kong Emoku. Together with Mohina Dojin, they surrounded Kong Emoku and killed him. No, impossible! Kong Emoku shouted in shock. At this moment, Kong Emoku was actually suppressed by a group of black-robed men and Mohina Dojin? This was something that would have been impossible in the past. The power of the group of experts was like a miniature black hole, strangling Kong Emoku in the center. Yang Zigu held a huge round wheel in his hand that was like a sun, pressing down on Kong Emoku's long blade. Chapter 1007. Crack, crack, crack. Kong Emoku was in a sorry state. No! Kong Emoku screamed. He had yet to conquer the world, and he had yet to defeat all the heroes in the world. How could he die here? Kong Emoku's eyes were bloodshot. He was fighting against 20 people by himself as he fought against Mohina Dojin. Humph! Kong Emoku, today is the day you die. Mohina Dojin roared as he activated his Dharma treasure. Rumble! The air around them exploded violently. It seemed like Kong Emoku was about to die. Suddenly, a powerful aura descended from the sky. A huge bamboo slip came crashing down from the sky. The black-robed men's expressions changed when they sensed the enormous aura. 10 black-robed men shot up into the sky and slashed at the bamboo slip with their swords. However, the bamboo slip crushed everything into powder. Boom! The 10 black-robed men at the first-level upper void stage were instantly blasted away along with their swords. The huge bamboo slip came crashing down on Mohina Dojin. Mohina Dojin's expression changed, and he slammed the huge round wheel in his hand into the sky. Boom! The huge round wheel only lasted for a moment before it could no longer withstand the impact. It was a disaster that came crashing down on Mohina Dojin. Father! Yang Zigu cried out in shock from afar. After losing Mohina Dojin's encirclement, the pressure on Kong Mo-ku was greatly reduced. While blocking the black-robed men, Kong Mo-ku saw the bamboo slip in the sky. Kong Daoqiu stood on top of the bamboo slip. Kong Daoqiu stepped on the bamboo slip and pressed down with an unstoppable force. Celestial? Mohina Dojin's expression changed. Maori, you've crossed the line, Kong Daoqiu said coldly. Mohina Dojin's expression hardened. Crossed the line? I'm the one who set the line. Celestial? So what? Mohina Dojin's eyes flashed with ruthlessness. Above Mohina Dojin's head, a black lotus flower suddenly appeared. The lotus flower spun slowly, and large amounts of black energy surged into Mohina Dojin's body. Mohina Dojin instantly turned pitch black, and at the same time, an extremely powerful and ferocious aura emanated from his body. As soon as the aura appeared, Kong Mok's expression changed. Stronger than last time? Kong Mok asked in surprise. Mohina Dojin punched the bamboo scroll. With a single punch, a gigantic pitch-black fist aura appeared. Boom! The fist energy collided with the bamboo slip, and the bamboo slip paused for a moment. Humph! Kong Daoqiu's aura of righteousness suddenly burst out, and white light radiated from the bamboo scroll. The bamboo slips sank again. Mohina Dojin's expression changed. It was obvious that he could no longer stop the bamboo slips from sinking. Lotus God, lend me your strength, lend me your strength. Mohina Dojin roared. With a roar, the lotus flower above his head suddenly surged with violent black energy again, and the black energy surged into Mohina Dojin's body. Crackle, crackle, crackle. Two enormous horns suddenly sprouted from Daolord Blacksun's head. Mohina Dojin's strength rose again. Boom! The fist aura exploded with even greater power, and the surrounding forest and land were instantly flattened by the aftershock. Even Kong Daoqiu was separated from Mohina Dojin by this ferocious force. Boom! Waves of air surged. The battle stopped. Kong Daoqiu pulled Kong Mok and retreated far away. All the officials of the great Buddha Empire were dead, and none were left alive. Almost 100 of Mohina Dojin's subordinates had died, but there were still more than 100 black-robed men supporting Yang Zigu. Mohina Dojin, with horns on his head and a black lotus flower above his head, looked at Kong Mok and Kong Daoqiu with a ferocious expression. Roar! Mohina Dojin roared coldly. He looked at Mohina Dojin in shock. Kong Daoqiu took a deep breath and said with an ugly expression, "Let's go." He pulled Kong Mok and shot away. Mohina Dojin did not chase after them, and he watched coldly as the two left. On the way back, Kong Daoqiu's expression was ugly, as if he was thinking of something. Kong Mok was the same. Not only had he lost, but more than 100 of his officials had died, and even Ning Chui Palace had been destroyed. Everything was not going well? It was more than that. Chapter 1008. Fairy Palace. Yan Chuan held a document in his hand while Li Si stood in front of him. Your Majesty, this is how congealed Jade Palace was destroyed. It seems like the myriad profundity demonic lotus that Mohina Dojin refined is really extraordinary. Not only did it allow Mohina Dojin to fight against Kong Daoqiu, who was a celestial, but it also raised the strength of all 200 disciples to the first-level upper void stage. Li Si said in a deep voice. Yan Chuan took a look and passed the information to Bai Ditian. Bai Ditian quickly scanned through it. Finally, he smiled. Meng San Sheng, Mohina Dojin? There are still a lot of magical treasures and evil techniques in this world. Bai Ditian's words were very vague. He was sighing at Yan Chuan's dream of the heavenly secrets. The dream of the heavenly secrets was too miraculous, but there were countless secret techniques in the world. There might be some that could compare to it, just like what Mohina Dojin had done. Daolord Black Sun hadn't been idle for the past 50 years. Daolord Black Sun hadn't been idle either. Yan Chuan narrowed his eyes, then nodded and said, Another immortal? The Great Jin Imperial Dynasty must ascend to the Celestial Dynasty as soon as possible. After this battle, we must find a way to pacify the Great Zhao Holy Ground and obtain immeasurable merit to increase our providence and ascend to the Celestial Dynasty. Yes, Li Si replied. Your Majesty, this is the information I've collected during this period of time. It's the topographic map of the various sects' encampments. Li Si handed over another map. Yan Chuan took it, looked at it, and nodded. Li Qing, you've worked hard. It's my duty. Li Si smiled. Yan Chuan nodded. It starts tomorrow. I wonder how much we will be able to gain from this selection. Yan Chuan sighed slightly. While everyone was talking, the Holy Maiden stepped into the Grand Hall. Everyone fell silent and looked at the Holy Maiden. Fairy walked in front of Yan Chuan. Although he could not see, there was a complicated expression on his face. The rules are out? Yan Chuan asked curiously. Zhao Afang nodded and handed over 2 jade talismans. Yun Xian has already sent all her disciples to inform the various elite. Every organization will receive 2 life talismans, said Zhao Afang. Taking the jade talisman, Yan Chuan asked curiously, Life talisman? The Celestial Arcanum sect is shrouded in the divine slaying life formation, which is the fog outside. Once the divine slaying life formation is activated, it will directly affect the birth chart and seal the power of the birth chart. No matter how strong one is, they will be bound to be immortal. Zhao Afang explained. God slashing life array? Yan Chuan's expression froze. These life talismans can counteract the power of the divine slashing life formation. Each side will have 2 of them, which means that you can only have one assistant. By then, the sea of fog will be hundreds of feet tall, and the area it occupies will be 10 times larger, covering all the bases. As long as you are forced out of the fog sea, you will be eliminated until the last person appears. Zhao Afang explained. Yan Chuan nodded. During this time, can you see me? Yes, I and everyone in the Celestial Arcanum sect can use the life-stealing art to see everything inside. Zhao Afang nodded. Yan Chuan smiled and nodded. Seeing Zhao Afang leave, Yan Chuan's eyes flashed with reluctance. Your Majesty, you seem to treat Fairy very differently? Li Si asked curiously. Differently? If I say she is my wife, would you believe me? Yan Chuan smiled bitterly. Li Si was surprised. At the same time, he seemed to be analyzing the authenticity of Huang Xiaolong's words. All right, all of you can fly out. Bai Ditian and I will be enough. Yan Chuan said solemnly. Yes. Lu Jin and Li Si answered. Chapter 1009. The Celestial Arcanum sect's Sea of Fog began to expand. In the blink of an eye, it had expanded by 10 times, enveloping all the encampments. At the same time, the Celestial Arcanum sect's disciples, like Zhao Afang, flew to all the encampments and explained the rules. In a valley, Yao Tianshang and Bai stood with their hands behind their back. It's about to begin. Have you gathered all the information? Bai asked. Yao Tianshang nodded seriously. Yes, everything is here. Haha, the god's fate array before us is a good hunting ground. We will set off at midnight to subdue at least 4 sect leaders of the northern divine continent. Bai said seriously. At Kong Mok's base, Kong Daoqiu and Kong Mok stood together. Have you sent everyone away? Kong Daoqiu asked. Yes. Kong Mok nodded. You have suffered a great loss in the battle with the Archaic Mysteries sect. The Archaic Mysteries sect no longer thinks highly of you. However, it's not over yet. As long as you win, there is still hope. Kong Daoqiu sighed. We will. With you and me together, no one can stop us. Kong Mok said solemnly. Kong Daoqiu looked at Kong Mok with a complicated expression. At Mohina Dojin's base. Father, it's about to begin? Is the Archaic Mysteries sect really that powerful? Yang Zigu asked curiously. I don't know, but back then, Jing Ting held him in high esteem. Rumor has it that his Tao of seizing fate can even reverse the heavenly secrets. Don't worry, I'll definitely help you win the championship, Tao Lord Black Sun said solemnly. Thank you, Father, Yang Zigu said emotionally. At midnight, the Archaic Mysteries sect was surrounded by fog. However, there were many mountains that were more than 100 zhang tall. At the peak of the Archaic Mysteries mountain, a group of Archaic Mysteries sect disciples stood beside Zhao Afang and looked down at the fog sea. At midnight, the selection began. In the distance, there were many experts standing on the peaks of the mountains. These people could not participate and could only wait at the peak. At the peak of a mountain, the strength of the people in the fog sea is different. Won't the weaker ones be finished? Dongfang Zhengpai asked curiously. However, Li Si shook his head and said, No, the weak have their advantages. They can easily form alliances and form alliances. In this selection, the process will not matter, only the results. Just as the countless cultivators in the surroundings guessed, the first loud sound rang out in the fog sea. Boom! With a loud bang, a large amount of sand and stones flew into the sky. However, the fog did not roll over at all. It was as if the fog was not affected by the impact at all. Clearly, an internal battle had begun. Inside the fairy palace, Yan Chuan and Bai Ditian stood at the entrance of the hall. It's starting, let's go, Yan Chuan said in a deep voice. With a flick of his robe, Yan Chuan led Bai Ditian into the fog. Yan Chuan had a goal in mind. He bypassed the experts and headed straight for the blood sealing sect's encampment. Boom, boom, boom. When Yan Chuan and Bai Ditian arrived, the blood sealing sect's encampment was in the midst of an intense battle. The blood sealing sect's sect master brought along an elder and was currently engaged in a fierce battle with 2 other experts. Roar! Scarlet Red Sect's sect master, you are crazy! The blood sealing sect's sect master shouted anxiously. Chen Shui, there is only one champion. Without you, my chances of becoming the champion are higher. The Scarlet Red Sect's sect master smiled. Idiot. With our abilities, what are we compared to the other heroes? Can you defeat Kong Mok? Can you defeat Mohina Dojin and the others? We need to form an alliance and chase out those heroes first, Chen Shui shouted. Chapter 10:10. The Scarlet Red Sect Master frowned slightly as if he had realized something. His hand had also slowed down significantly. Who is it? Chen Shui suddenly exclaimed. Not far away, Yan Chuan and Bai Ditian were watching quietly. Yan Chuan? Not good. The Scarlet Red Sect Master exclaimed. Scarlet Red Sect Master, let's stop fighting first. Let's force Yan Chuan and Bai Ditian out first. Chen Shui shouted. All right. The Scarlet Red Sect Master nodded. Yan Chuan smiled faintly as the 2 charged out. Stop right there. The Scarlet Red Sect Master's expression changed. However, in an instant, Yan Chuan and Bai Ditian arrived in front of him. Yan Chuan and Bai Ditian each attacked the Scarlet Red Sect Master and Bai Ditian. Boom! Bai Ditian clawed, and the person following the Scarlet Red Sect Master flew into the air. Yan Chuan's fist also clashed with the Scarlet Red Sect Master's fist. Get out! Yan Chuan glared. The Scarlet Red Sect Master was sent flying into the air. Ah, no. Why is it like this? The Scarlet Red Sect Master exclaimed gloomily. Boom! The Scarlet Red Sect Master flew 300 meters and lost his qualification in the blink of an eye. The Scarlet Red Sect Master was not severely injured, but he lost his qualification in the blink of an eye. This made the Scarlet Red Sect Master very depressed. After flying out of the fog, the life talisman in his hand suddenly shattered. Without the protection of the life talisman, the Scarlet Red Sect Master no longer had the courage to continue. Sect Master, what should we do? The elder at the side asked. The Scarlet Red Sect Master's expression turned ugly as he said, What do you mean, what should we do? Go back. Below, Yen Chuan and Bai Detian surrounded the scarlet-red sect master and Bai Detian. Chen Shui's expression changed as he tried to flee. Chen Shui was indeed an upper void realm cultivator, but he was much weaker than Yen Chuan and Bai Detian. If he fought head-on, he would end up like the scarlet-red sect master. Sect master, wait! Yen Chuan shouted. Chen Shui looked at Yen Chuan in surprise and doubt, but he still made a gesture of fleeing. Sect leader Chen, so what if you manage to escape today? Your Blood Seal sect is close to my great Jin Imperial dynasty. Yen Chuan said in a deep voice. Blood Sealing sect? Close to De Zhen? Chen Shui's expression changed. Yen Chuan, what is the meaning of this? Chen Shui's face was dark as he looked at Yen Chuan. At this moment, he was unwilling to leave. Just now, Sect Master Chen advised the Scarlet Blood Sect Master. I can see that Sect Master Chen is a smart person. Naturally, you can see through my intentions. Yen Chuan said with a smile. You want my blood sealing sect to submit? Chen Shui sneered. Looking at Chen Shui, Yen Chuan said, Sovereign Chen, you should know very well how high your chances of success are in the Celestial Arcanum sect's God-making plan. Compared to me and Kong Mok, how high are your chances of success? Even if you are lucky, can the blood-sealing sect's power in the East Divine Continent stop the Great Jin and Great Zhao? Chen Shui's expression changed. You are about to make a move? Not just us. The entire world is making a move. Why is the Celestial Arcanum sect in such a hurry to start the God-making plan? Even in the upcoming Great Calamity, the Celestial Arcanum sect is not confident of surviving alone. Yen Chuan said in a deep voice. Great Calamity? The Celestial Arcanum sect is also. Chen Shui exclaimed in shock. At the same time, his expression changed. Chen Shui had felt this for a long time, but he was never willing to admit it. Sect Master Chen, you are indeed a genius to have single-handedly established the blood-sealing sect. However, you must know that even these great sects with tens of thousands of years of history are not confident of surviving. What can you do? I believe you have already known that the Julu Academy has sent Sima Yuntian to my Great Jin as a subject. How is your blood-sealing sect compared to the Julu Academy? How is your blood-sealing sect compared to the Celestial Arcanum sect? Yen Chuan took a step forward. Chen Shui looked at Yen Chuan with a complicated expression. The blood-sealing sect is near my Great Jin and also borders the Great Zhao Holy Ground. My Great Jin Imperial Dynasty and the Great Zhao Holy Ground are about to have a decisive battle. Do you think the blood-sealing sect can survive alone? Yen Chuan smiled. What? You want to have a decisive battle with the Great Zhao Holy Ground? Chen Shui exclaimed in shock. What does the Great Zhao Holy Land count for now without the capital? Chen Shui, you are a talent. The Great Jin Empire urgently needs talents like you. The Great Jin Empire is about to take another step forward and become a heavenly empire. As long as you lead the blood-sealing sect to the Great Jin Empire as a subject, you will be opening up new territory for the Great Jin Empire. That will be a great achievement. After that, you will be able to enjoy the same karmic rank as you are now. How about it? Yen Chuan persuaded. I, Yen Chuan, promise to treat the blood-sealing sect well. I will treat all the subjects of the Great Jin Empire equally. Yen Chuan persuaded once more. Chen Shui's expression was extremely ugly. Sect Master, an elder at the side said anxiously. Don't be noisy. Let me think. Chen Shui took a deep breath and said. At the side, Yen Chuan and Bai Detian waited patiently. Chapter 10-11. After a moment of silence, the blood-sealing sect's sect master hesitated. Sect Master, you are at the upper void realm. As long as you gather the virtue energy of the sect, No one can do anything to our blood-sealing sect. An elder said anxiously. Ha ha ha, no one can do anything to us? Not long ago, congealed Jade Palace was destroyed. Dozens of years ago, our great Jin army's generals each took down a middle-level sect. The world is in chaos. Sect Master Chen, are you sure you can fight for supremacy in this chaotic world? Yan Chuan asked again. The elder, this. Qin Shui thought for a moment, then looked at Yan Chuan and said, Yan Di, I want to know when you will send out your troops. After this battle, Great Jin will send troops to attack the Great Zhao Holy Ground. Yan Chuan said with certainty. Yan Chuan's affirmation dispelled all of Qin Shui's doubts. He smiled bitterly and said, What kind of treatment will Yan Di give my blood-sealing sect? Sect Master, you can't. My blood-sealing sect may not. The elder said anxiously. Chen Shui waved his hand to calm the elder. Shaking his head, he said, I was the one who founded the blood-sealing sect. I'm even more reluctant to part with it than you are. However, I understand myself even more. Reaching the level of a middle-level sect is my current limit. Perhaps in a few thousand years, my strength will have taken a qualitative leap and I will have even greater ambitions. But right now I understand my position even more clearly. Elder Ma, you don't need to say anything more. Yes. The elder nodded angrily. Yan Di, this one has studied your history. A promise is worth 1,000 gold. I hope Yan Di will treat blood-sealing sect well. Chen Shui bowed heavily. At the same time, Chen Shui took out blood-sealing sect's Tiansu. The elder could only kneel down unwillingly. Don't worry. I, Yan Chuan, will do what I say. From today onwards, I bestow upon Chen Shui the title of blood-sealing uncle. The disciples of blood-sealing sect will be conferred another title at a later date. Yan Chuan nodded. This subject, blood-sealing Uncle Chen Shui, greets your majesty. Chen Shui bowed respectfully. In the distant East Divine Continent, above the sea of merit clouds of blood-sealing sect, there was a sudden explosion. Boom! The surging merit flowed towards the great Jin imperial dynasty, and nearly half of it was lost in the blink of an eye. Countless disciples of the blood-sealing sect looked at the sky in surprise. What happened? Why did my blood-sealing sect lose so much merit points? Sect Master, what happened? Countless disciples were jiaohu, while countless officials of the great Jin imperial dynasty were looking at the surging providence in the sky with a look of pleasant surprise. As for the other half of the merit points, they would have to wait for Chen Shui to return and inform all the disciples before it would all flow to the great Jin Empire. Inside the sharpening God-life array. In another place, Zhu and Yao Tianshang were currently looking at the two men kneeling on one knee in front of them. The True Self sect, Wang Zhen and the entire True Self sect, are willing to serve the Yao imperial dynasty as subjects and pay our respects to your majesty. May your majesty live for 10,000 years. A kneeling man said respectfully. Haha, my beloved minister, please rise. I, Zhu, am a man of my word, and I will not let you down, Zhu said with a smile. In the East Divine Continent and North Divine Continent, large amounts of merit points were surging violently, and countless merit points were being transferred and converted. Yan Chuan and Zhu continued to move around, and according to their information, they were constantly recruiting experts. Of course, there were many experts who were not willing at all. When the two of them tried to recruit them, they immediately went berserk. However, the two of them did not mind. The hunting ground was huge, and if one place was not enough, there were many more. At Kong Mok's location, Sect Master Ma, do you think your sect can stop the great Buddha imperial dynasty? Are you really not willing to submit to me? Kong Mok looked coldly at the two men who were bleeding from the corners of their mouth. Sect Master Ma wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and said, Humph, Kong Mok, a warrior can be killed but not humiliated. You pervert, I have already seen through you. I will not be subdued by you. Tui, let's go. Sect Master Ma brought a junior brother and soared into the sky, giving up on the opportunity in the blink of an eye. They flew out of the fog. Subdued? Kong Mok was slightly stunned. Then, Kong Mok reacted and said angrily, "Submit your sister." At the side, Kong Daochio's expression was also ugly. "Your mess is already deeply ingrained in people's hearts." Kong Daochio was speechless. Kong Mok's eyes were red with hatred. "Yen Chuan, Dong Fangjing faction, Renshu, one day I will kill all of you." Boom! 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 One by one, the cultivators were forced out of Great Zhen, and one by one, the experts were eliminated. Some of the experts who were eliminated stayed on the peaks of the surrounding mountains, waiting for the final result. However, there were some people who turned around and left. Within the array, the battles continued. 10 days and 10 nights later, most of the experts had been forced out. Beside a small lake, Zhu, Yao Tianshang, and 8 other cultivators looked coldly at the 2 people opposite them. Kong Daochio and Kong Mok. Zhu faced Kong Daochio. 30,000 years ago, the strongest person in the world? Kong Daochio said in a low voice. Zhu narrowed his eyes and said, 30,000 years ago, the Kong clan did not exist. Ma Fei, is your Kong clan from the celestial world? Kong Daochio smiled and did not explain. Are you not going to give in? Kong Daochio said in a low voice. Those who should have left have already left. There is no need to give in. Celestial? I also want to know how strong and celestial is. Ha. Zhu's eyes flashed with a strange light. Ha, I also want to know how strong the strongest person in this world is, other than Jing Ting. Kong Daochio's eyes flashed with a strange light. Boom! The 2 of them instantly charged forward. Their palms collided, and a huge impact exploded within the God Life array. On the other side, Yao Tianshang led the other 8 experts and attacked Kong Mok from all sides. In another valley, Yen Chuan and Bai Ditian had already subdued 8 subordinate. At this moment, they were looking at the other 2. It was as if they were forcing the other person to agree. Sect Leader Wu, look behind me. The 4 sects behind me have already joined Great Zhen. What does this mean? Yen Chuan smiled. Sect Leader Wu's face darkened. What? It means the people's hearts, the situation, and the will of the heavens. Yen Chuan said solemnly. Sect Leader Wu squinted his eyes and his face turned ugly. Looking at the 4 sect leaders who had already submitted to Great Zhen, Sect Leader Wu's heart was filled with unwillingness. Just as Yen Chuan had said, joining Great Zhen now was to open up new territory for Great Zhen. Once Great Zhen sent troops to take them back, they would have nothing left. Yet, they had submitted to Great Zhen just like that? Sect Leader Wu's face changed drastically. Yen Chuan led 9 people and forced Sect Leader Wu and his disciple to submit. The battle in the distance continued, but the atmosphere was extremely tense. Ha 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 ha, Yen Chuan! You are really ambitious. Suddenly, a cold laugh sounded. Yen Chuan and the others turned to look. Mohina Dojin and Yang Zigu were standing halfway up a mountain. At this moment, they were looking coldly at Yen Chuan and the others. Mohina Dojin? Yen Chuan's face darkened. Chapter 10-12. Yen Chuan's eyes flashed coldly as he took a step forward. Bai Ditian saw Yen Chuan's actions and understood that Yen Chuan did not want him to interfere. Morning, Yen Chuan said in a low voice. Mohina Dojin also looked coldly at Yen Chuan. Great Emperor de Zhen? What did I just hear? Are you prepared to attack my great Zhao holy ground? Mohina Dojin asked coldly. Mohina Dojin's eyes were filled with murderous intent. He was forcing Yen Chuan to admit it. If Yen Chuan did not admit it, it would show that Yen Chuan was weak and these subjects would betray Yen Chuan. However, if Yen Chuan admitted it, Mohina Dojin would not mind killing Yen Chuan right now. Everyone looked at Yen Chuan seriously. Yan Chuan smiled and said in a low voice, "A great Zhao without Jingming is no longer a great Zhao. Mourning, we do not have much enmity between us. However, your son Yang Zigu has tried to kill me many times. If you hand Yang Zigu over to me, my great Zhao will be at peace with your great Zhao." "You Yan Chuan!" Yang Zigu shouted in shock. "Ha ha 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 ha!" Mohina Dojin laughed loudly. His laughter was filled with murderous intent. As he laughed, his face turned sinister and a huge ball-shaped treasure appeared in his hand. Once the treasure appeared, it emitted a scorching light that suppressed Yan Chuan. Shing! The Jade Emperor's sword appeared and a blood-red light shot towards the huge ball. Boom! The huge explosion flattened all the mountains and rivers in all directions. Yan Chuan held the Jade King's sword and coldly looked at Mohina Dojin, who was holding the giant ball. "I'm no longer the same as I was back then. Do you think you can do anything to me with just this little trick? I heard that you have already refined the 10,000 Wonders Demonic Lotus. Take out the 10,000 Wonders Demonic Lotus," Yan Chuan coldly said. At the same time, he wanted to know just how strange the myriad Wonder Demonic Lotus was. Mohina Dojin's face sank, then he sneered, "Since you're courting death, then don't blame me." As he spoke, the spherical Dharma treasure in Mohina Dojin's hand covered Yang Zigu to protect Yang Zigu. Following that, a black lotus slowly floated above Mohina Dojin's head. The lotus slowly rotated, emitting an extremely evil aura. In the blink of an eye, it dyed Mohina Dojin pitch black. Rumble! The flames around Mohina Dojin's body suddenly rose. The huge aura caused the surrounding soil to move. Although Yan Chuan was confident, he did not act rashly. Instead, his pupils shrank and turned blood-red. At the same time, Yan Chuan's hair suddenly grew long and turned blood-red. Roar! Yan Chuan, who was holding the Jade King's sword, was suddenly surrounded by a bloody mist. Under his feet, a huge sea of blood suddenly appeared on the ground. The sea of blood roiled as Yan Chuan stood on top of it. The sea of blood continued to revolve around him, as if a demon god had descended. The powerful aura was not any weaker than Mohina Dojin's. Boom! In the blink of an eye, the sea of blood surged towards Tao Lord Blacksun. Humph! Mohina Dojin's eyes turned cold. He formed a lotus hand seal with his hand. Boom! A huge black lotus illusion suddenly appeared on top of the sea of blood. Mohina Dojin stood on top of this huge black lotus illusion. The black lotus slowly rotated together with the 10,000 Wonders Demonic Lotus above Mao Ri's head. In an instant, billowing evil aura rushed into the sea of blood. 10,000 swords! Yan Chuan coldly shouted. Suddenly, countless blood swords rushed out from the sea of blood and rushed towards Mohina Dojin. However, the evil aura quickly corroded. Yan Chuan sneered and threw the Jade King's sword towards the sea of blood. Chapter 1013. Whoosh! The Jade Emperor's sword seemed to produce a strong suction force as it started to absorb the evil aura. How is that possible? Mohina Dojin exclaimed. How could the evil aura be absorbed by the sword? Slash! The Jade Emperor's sword slashed towards Mohina Dojin. Mohina Dojin opened his lotus hand seal as another lotus flew towards the Jade Emperor's sword. Boom! The sword and lotus clashed as a shock wave surged through the blood sea. Tens of thousands of sword chi waves rushed towards Mohina Dojin, but Mohina Dojin was safe and sound under the protection of the Black Lotus. Jade Emperor, take! Yan Chuan shouted. Boom! The Jade Emperor's sword suddenly absorbed all the evil aura in the Black Lotus as it slashed towards Mohina Dojin again. How is that possible? 10,000 lotuses bloom! Mohina Dojin exclaimed. In an instant, a large number of black lotuses flew towards Yan Chuan. The Jade Emperor's sword in the air seemed to produce countless sword shadows as it clashed with the black lotuses. At the same time, the black lotuses were absorbed. In an instant, the 10,000 lotuses were destroyed. No, what sword is this? How can it restrain my evil lotus? Mohina Dojin exclaimed. As he spoke, Mohina Dojin quickly took out a long sword and clashed with the Jade Emperor's sword. Boom! The sword blocked the Jade Emperor's sword, but the evil aura could not stop the Jade Emperor's sword from absorbing it. Lotus God! Help me! Mohina Dojin exclaimed. Yan Chuan's eyes widened as he shouted, Bai Ditian! Whoosh! Bai Ditian understood and reached out to grab Yang Zigu. Boom! The round wheel that was protecting Yang Zigu instantly shone with golden light. Yang Zigu, who was inside, was still affected by the shockwave. Father, save me! Yang Zigu exclaimed. When Mohina Dojin asked the Lotus God for help, the lotus flower above his head once again emitted an extremely evil aura, which surged into Mohina Dojin's body. A pair of huge horns quickly grew out of his head, and Mohina Dojin's strength skyrocketed. At this moment, Yang Zigu's Jiaohu came through. Bastard! Despicable! Mohina Dojin roared and pounced on Yang Zigu. Jade Emperor slash! Above the Blood Sea, the Jade Emperor's sword slashed out a massive sword aura towards Mohina Dojin. If Mohina Dojin were to save Yang Zigu, he would definitely be injured. If they did not save him, Bai Ditian would definitely attack again. Mohina Dojin did not hold back as the sword aura slashed towards Bai Ditian. Bai Ditian's expression changed as he countered with a palm strike. Boom! A powerful aura surged into the sky, and the entire battlefield was filled with the sound of explosions. Bam! Bai Ditian was sent flying back 1,000 feet by Mohina Dojin's palm strike. However, the Jade Emperor's sword instantly chopped off Mohina Dojin's left arm. Mohina Dojin reached out and grabbed the severed arm. He then looked at Yang Zigu, who had been saved. Within the giant sphere, Yang Zigu had been knocked unconscious by Bai Ditian, but he was still fine. Mohina Dojin heaved a sigh of relief. Yan Chuan, I will come and find you again. Next time, you will die. With that, Mohina Dojin soared into the sky and instantly left with Yang Zigu. As he watched Mohina Dojin leave, Yan Chuan frowned deeply. Something was not right. Mohina Dojin had borrowed the Lotus God's strength. At that moment, his aura had been very strong. Even a super mystical ability could not deal with it. That was why Bai Ditian had chased after Yang Zigu to distract Mohina Dojin. However, Mohina Dojin's actions just now had made it seem like he would rather take a hit than let Yang Zigu get injured. His beloved son. If it had been someone else, Yan Chuan might have believed it. However, decades ago, Mohina Dojin had not cared about the lives of his other children. This made Yan Chuan understand that Mohina Dojin was a heartless person. Would such a person not care about his own life for his son? Chapter 10:14. This Yang Zigu definitely had a huge secret. Also Lotus God? Who was Lotus God? The energy released by the myriad profundity demonic lotus in that instant made Yan Chuan realize that this wasn't the energy of the myriad profundity demonic lotus itself. Instead, it was an extremely powerful mighty figure that was transmitting this energy to Tao Lord Black Sunday. Congratulations, Your Majesty, for severely injuring Mohina Dojin. Chen Shui shouted from not far away. The other officials also hurried over to congratulate him. Yan Chuan's mind was filled with thoughts, but he still nodded and echoed the crowd. Phew! The Blood Sea disappeared, and Yan Chuan turned to look at the two people that he was about to subdue. The two of them were hesitant previously, but when they looked at Yan Chuan again, they immediately understood. I am willing to lead the entire sect to submit to the Dezhun imperial dynasty. Long live Your Majesty! Sect leader Wu bowed respectfully to Yan Chuan. Celestial Arcanum Sect South. Mohina Dojin brought everyone and flew towards the southeast. On the way, Yang Zigu gradually regained consciousness. "Father, I am the one who dragged you down," Yang Zigu said bitterly. Mohina Dojin grabbed his severed arm and reattached it to his body. The severed arm was quickly reattached and recovered in a blink of an eye. Mohina Dojin shook his head and said, "It's nothing. The Jade Emperor's sword only absorbed some of my blood. I underestimated Yen Chuan. Father, if I was not the one who dragged you down, with your strength, you would definitely be able to kill Yen Chuan on the spot. Father, the people from the De Zhao Holy Ground, as long as they are demonized by you, they would be incomparably powerful. Demonize me too," Yang Zigu said longingly. "You? No, you must maintain your pure body." Mohina Dojin shook his head and said, "But father, this time," Yang Zigu said anxiously. "Don't say any more. Celestial Arcanum sect? It's nothing. I have the help of the Lotus God. As long as that day comes, the entire world will be mine," Mohina Dojin said solemnly. "But, didn't you say that the Celestial Arcanum sect in the Immortal Realm also?" "That's because I didn't understand the strength of the Lotus God. Just now I already felt it. Celestial Arcanum sect? So what if it was the Tianji sect of the Immortal World? In front of the Lotus God, you are nothing," Mohina Dojin said disdainfully. "Ah! As for Yen Chuan? Humph, it won't be long. Once the time is up, all of them will die." Mohina Dojin's eyes flashed with madness. "Time? When?" Yang Zigu asked curiously. Inside the sharpening God-life array. Ju versus Kong Daoqiu. Rumble. As the two of them faced each other, ripples of airflow spread out in all directions. No one could get close to them within a radius of 10,000 miles. "Open." Ju's eyes turned cold. Boom. The two of them separated, and the ground they were standing on turned into a huge crater with a diameter of 10,000 miles. The two of them looked at each other coldly. It was as if neither of them had won. However, in the next moment, Kong Daoqiu's expression changed as he looked at the sky not far away. Kong Mok had been forced out of the fog. He stood in the sky with an extremely ugly expression. Kong Daoqiu was stunned. Kong Mok was too disappointing. He was disqualified just like that? Kong Daoqiu again? Ju sneered. "Ha ha 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 ha, Ju. It seems like I have underestimated you." Kong Daoqiu's voice contained a trace of hostility. Ju shook his head and said, "If it was in the past, I would have fought with you. However, this time, the choice of the Celestial Arcanum sect is at stake. I need the Celestial Arcanum sect. Therefore, I have no choice but to use this method. If there is another chance in the future, I will fight with you fair and square." Not far away, Yao Tianshang flew over slowly with 8 people. Ju's goal was to stall Kong Daoqiu so that Yao Tianshang and the other 8 could force Kong Mok out of the array and disqualify him. Kong Daoqiu looked at the crowd and finally let out an angry laugh. "Ha ha ha ha, Ju! No one has ever made me so angry. Ha ha, I will remember you." As he spoke, Kong Daoqiu flew out of the array. He did not want to fight anymore. Because there was no point in fighting anymore. If he won, he would lose. If he lost, he would lose. He flew past Kong Mok. He looked at Kong Mok, who had a look of disappointment on his face. "Humph!" Kong Daoqiu walked towards the west and left alone. Kong Mok's face twitched. Chapter 10-15. Kong Mok left the archaic Arcanum sect with the remaining 100 or so officials. Kong Mok's face darkened as he rode on the dragon horse. The officials followed behind him, but no one dared to say anything. Only the Prophet Buddha dared to step forward. "Your Majesty, this trip is not going well. Let's go back," the Prophet Buddha advised. "Go back?" Kong Mok's face darkened even more. It was the same as the last time. No, it was even worse than the last time. Kong Daoqiu was disappointed in losing the right to participate in the god-making plan. More than half of his officials were killed and his reputation was ruined. Kong Mok's heart bled as he thought of this. All of this started with Yan Chuan. It all started with Yan Chuan. Your Majesty? No, we can't go back like this. Go to the Great Jin Empire, go to Yanjing. I want to destroy Yanjing first. I want Yan Chuan to pay the price. Kong Mok roared. The Prophet Buddha wanted to stop him, but when he saw the hatred in Kong Mok's eyes, he knew that he couldn't stop him. Sigh. The Prophet Buddha sighed. Forget it. Yan Chuan and Bai Ditian aren't in Yanjing. Yanjing shouldn't be a threat. Let's go to Yanjing. Kong Mok roared. Yes. The officials replied. East Divine Continent, Great Jin Empire, Yanjing. Imperial Astronomer Hall. Feng Yinyang sat cross-legged, his body emitting a faint green light. After a while, Feng Yinyang suddenly opened his eyes. Ghost Valley secret art? Just as I thought, the South sect and the Northern sect took a long time to comprehend it. How could it be so fast when the two sects combined? Ghost Valley? Am I really the reincarnation of ancestor Gui Guzi? Feng Yinyang frowned and thought. Just as Feng Yinyang was exclaiming about his increase in strength. Dong! A bell chime came from the outside world. Feng Yinyang walked out of the hall curiously and looked at a huge volcano in the distance. What a heavy chime! Is this Jindu? Divine Emperor Bell? Feng Yinyang narrowed his eyes. In the distance, inside the volcano, in the depths of the volcano, Jindu looked at the huge golden bell in front of him. Jindu's eyes were brimming with heroic spirit. Excitement flashed in his eyes as he said, I finally have some ability to protect myself. The Divine Emperor Bell has completed its first form. Even if I face Bai Ditian, I can still fight him. At the same time, in the residence of Dajin's first army commander, Huguang was in a deep sleep. While sleeping, Huguang's body was shrouded in a bloody aura that surrounded the entire bedroom. None of the servants dared to approach. In his deep sleep, Huguang's face was malevolent. Soon after, his face became solemn and stirring. Huguang had a strange dream. In the dream, he was wearing a suit of armor and holding a bronze sword in his hand. With tears in his eyes, he solemnly placed the sword on his neck. Heavenly Sovereign, Meng Tian has chased after you. My spirit is connected to the fate of the Heavenly Sovereign. If the Heavenly Sovereign dies, I die. If the Heavenly Sovereign reincarnates, I will follow you. Eternal immortality. In reality, Huguang's body was trembling. In the dream, he used his sword to commit suicide on the spot. Plop! In the dream, Huguang fell to the ground. As he was dying, he saw another scene. His disciple, Tan Lang, was also holding a long sword and shouting with tears of blood in his eyes. Heavenly Sovereign, Meng Yi has chased after you. My spirit is connected to the fate of the Heavenly Sovereign. If the Heavenly Sovereign dies, I die. If the Heavenly Sovereign reincarnates, I will follow you. Eternal immortality. In the dream, Tan Lang committed suicide. Tan Lang fell to the ground and looked at Huguang's corpse. As he was dying, he became blurry. Brother, heh! The greedy wolf laughed bitterly and stopped breathing. In the dream, Huguang and Tan Lang died together. In the dream, the two of them died to follow the Heavenly Sovereign. They were Meng Tian and Meng Yi. Chapter 10:16. Dang. A bell rang from the outside world. Ah! Huguang quivered and immediately woke up. Huguang was covered in cold sweat, as though he had just been fished out of the water. Whoosh! A figure rushed into the hall. It was Tan Lang. Master, what's wrong? Tan Lang looked at Huguang in surprise. Huguang looked at Tan Lang. This was his brother in the dream? After a long silence, Huguang said with a complicated expression, I had a strange dream. Dream? Tan Lang, let's not be master and disciple anymore. Let's be brothers. How about that? Hu Guang said seriously. Tan Lang was confused. From today onwards, call me Big Brother. I will personally report this to His Majesty. Hu Guang said seriously. Tan Lang was still confused. Archaic Mysteries sect. Within the God-carving life formation. It had become the stage for Yan Chuan and Zhu. Victory! 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 The two were victorious all the way, defeating all the heroes. At the same time, they subdued all the heroes. The two did not bite off more than they could chew. They only did what they could. They only subdued the sect leaders of their respective divine continent. Zhu subdued 5 sections. By now, Yan Chuan had already subdued 6 sections. The two factions seemed to know of each other's existence. They seemed to have deliberately avoided fighting until everyone else was expelled from the God-carving life formation. Only then did the two slowly calm down. They did not leave. Instead, they rested and recuperated, waiting for the final battle. Outside the God-carving life formation, the Archaic Mysteries sect disciples were also looking at the last 2 factions below. Yun Xian's eyes flashed with satisfaction. These 2 groups were too outstanding. Li Si and Meng Lingtian also landed beside Yun Xian and Heavenly Daughter. Congratulations, fellow Taoist Yun Xian. After such a huge wave of elimination, the 2 groups before us are about to decide the victor? And they are both heroes of the world. Meng Lingtian smiled. Yun Xian nodded. Sect leader Yun, I wonder which side sect leader Yun favors? Yan Chuan? Zhu? Li Si asked. As soon as Li Si spoke, Meng Lingtian's eyes lit up. Meng Lingtian's mind spun rapidly. That's right, who would the Tianji sect help? Yan Chuan? Zhu? Helping Yan Chuan was the best option. Li Si had already entered the Great Zhen Empire. But what about Zhu? Did he have to consider the Julu Academy as well? Perhaps, Meng Lingtian looked at Li Si. Perhaps it would not be a bad idea to send Li Si to the Yao Imperial Dynasty? After all, De Zhen already had his great-great-grandson, Meng Wenru. Meng Lingtian's eyes flashed. He looked at Yun Xian. Yun Xian frowned. Zhu was the greatest person in the world 30,000 years ago. Actually, the Archaic Mysteries sect had already investigated him 30,000 years ago and was extremely satisfied with him. After his reincarnation, he seems to be even more outstanding than before. As for Yan Chuan, he's even more extraordinary. In less than a century, he's already achieved what he is today. Ahihi. Yun Xian shook her head and stopped talking. Clearly, both of them were extremely optimistic. They did not want to express their opinions right now. Looking at how Yun Xian did not want to talk about it, Meng Lingtian and Li Si could only feel helpless. However, the heavenly lady at the side spoke up. If it came down to this, who would you choose? Choose who? Choose now? Everyone looked at Zhao Afang in surprise. Yun Xian looked at Zhao Afang in surprise as well. Can you tell us, sect leader? Zhao Afang asked once more. Looking at Zhao Afang's relentless questioning, Yun Xian finally smiled bitterly. Since the heavenly lady wishes to know, I'll share my thoughts as well. Chapter 10:17. Everyone looked at Yun Xian. I think highly of both of them. If there is no battle, I'm willing to let the Archaic Mysteries sect become a vassal. However, if I have to choose one, I'm more willing to choose Yan Chuan. Because his potential is too terrifying. Yun Xian took a deep breath and said, Oh! Meng Lingtian was delighted. Zhao Afang was also slightly surprised. Of course, everything depends on the final battle. If Zhu can subdue Yan Chuan, I'm more willing to choose Zhu. Yun Xian smiled. Zhao Afang nodded as if he was secretly relieved, as if he was happy for Yan Chuan. As for Meng Lingtian and Li Si, there was no need to say anything. The two of them were praying that Yan Chuan would win. Finally, after resting for 2 days, the two sides began to gather at the center. The center was where the fairy palace was located. The two sides walked to the square of the fairy palace. They looked at each other. Yan Chuan took a step forward. Zhu also took a step forward. The two experts looked at each other. Yan Chuan, Zhu said indifferently. Have you rested well? Yan Chuan smiled. Aren't you the same? I didn't expect the final opponent to be you. Zhu sighed. The two experts were about to have their final battle. Countless cultivators in the surroundings were excited as they looked at the center of the square. However, at this moment, Yan Chuan smiled and looked to the north, in the direction of the archaic mysteries peak. Zhao Afang, can you hear me? Yan Chuan called to the north. Zhao Afang? Fairy? Why was Yan Chuan calling for a fairy at this moment? Everyone looked at Zhao Afang curiously. However, Zhu frowned. In the distance, at the top of the archaic mysteries peak, Zhao Afang was stunned. Then, he became flustered. He even became anxious. However, Yan Chuan smiled and said, Do you still remember what I said to you that day? The God-making plan? I, Yan Chuan, don't care about it. I won't compromise for it or even give up my persistence. Hua! Countless cultivators in the surroundings revealed shocked expressions, causing an uproar. What kind of tone was Yan Chuan using? Does he not care about the God creation plan? The vassal of the Celestial Arcanum sect didn't care? Compromise? Persevere? What did he mean? The faces of the Celestial Arcanum sect disciples turned extremely ugly. The God-making plan was a vassal of the Celestial Arcanum sect. In the hearts of the Celestial Arcanum sect disciples, how sacred was that? Similarly, whoever was chosen would be honored. Everyone who participated in the God creation plan should be incomparably honored. Not only was Yan Chuan not honored, but he also didn't seem to care about it. Zhu also looked at Yan Chuan in surprise. The Celestial Arcanum sect was a mysterious and ancient sect. Was Yan Chuan really willing to part with it? Meng Lingtian stood beside Yun Xian and was filled with anxiety. Was Yan Chuan out of his mind? How much effort had she put in for him? Yun Xian's face became slightly ugly as well. Only Zhao Afang had a complicated expression on his face. There was even a moment of fear. You don't have to be like this. There's no need to persevere. Zhao Afang's voice trembled slightly. Li Si looked at Zhao Afang in surprise. Why was Zhao Afang so agitated? Yan Chuan shook his head stubbornly. There are some things that I can give up, like the God creation plan. However, there are some things that I must persevere with, because I understand that if I give up today, I will regret it for the rest of my life tomorrow. You said that you will return to the immortal world very soon. However, I am willing to give up the Celestial Arcanum sect as the price for a heart-to-heart test between us. With that, Yan Chuan took out the world branch and pointed it at Zhao Afang. Zhao Afang froze momentarily. Come, I won't blame you. Let's have a heart-to-heart test. You and I will have no regrets. Yan Chuan shouted again. Everyone looked at the heavenly maiden in confusion. They didn't know what Yan Chuan was talking about. Chapter 10:18. Zhao Afang froze momentarily. Come, I won't blame you. Let's verify this once. We'll have no regrets. Yan Chuan called out again. Everyone looked at the fairy in confusion. They had no idea what Yan Chuan was talking about. Others might not know, but Zhao Afang knew it extremely well. Ever since Yan Chuan first mentioned it, Zhao Afang had been avoiding it. The conflict between her beliefs and her feelings made her unwilling to verify this fact. Yan Chuan said he was familiar with Zhao Afang. Wasn't Zhao Afang the same? It was like a feeling from the unseen world. However, Zhao Afang dared not touch it. But now, Yan Chuan had already forced Zhao Afang into a corner. Even without the archaic mystery's sex assistance, he had to verify this fact. Come, Yan Chuan said firmly once more. Countless cultivators in the surroundings were confused. Even Yan Chuan's opponent, Zhu, was extremely curious right now. What was Yan Chuan trying to do with the branch of the world? Is there a need for this? Zhao Afang was troubled. At the same time, she felt pity for Yan Chuan. Zhao Afang knew that Yan Chuan came from the Immortal's world. Once he used the branch of the world, traces of being measured would be left on it. Yun Xian would definitely revoke Yan Chuan's qualification. Yan Chuan smiled instead. The 4 Cs can't compare to a single finger of yours. Zhao Afang trembled slightly. It was as if a thin crack had suddenly appeared in the ice in his heart. Without any hesitation, Zhao Afang took a step forward and flew towards Yan Chuan. In the blink of an eye, she arrived before Yan Chuan. The countless cultivators in the surroundings. Li Si was stunned as well. His Majesty had said that Zhao Afang was his wife that day. Was that true? Yun Xian and the others from the Archaic Mysteries sect fell silent. As if they had realized something, all of their expressions became mixed. Test it. Yan Chuan handed over the branch of the world. Zhao Afang bit her lip. After quite a while, she said, "All right." A smile bloomed on Yan Chuan's face, and his eyes became even more tender. Yan Chuan grabbed one end of the world branch, and Zhao Afang also grabbed the other end with her slender right hand. She said, "I only test the fate of marriage. In the past, if you and I were husband and wife, a red circle would appear." "All right." Yan Chuan nodded. "A married couple?" Zhu's expression changed. He immediately understood Yan Chuan's meaning. Yan Chuan came from the celestial realm? Then Yan Chuan was not qualified? Yan Chuan was no longer qualified, so Zhu was the only one left. However, Zhu didn't seem happy at all. Instead, he felt a great sense of regret. Zhao Afang chanted a series of complicated incantations. At the same time, a white light shone from his palm. Rumble! The countless runes on the world branch seemed to jump and revolve around it. Yan Chuan stared at the world branch, waiting for the red circle of light. A red circle of light signified a lifetime of husband and wife? As he waited, he became more and more anxious. Half an hour later. Buzz! A red circle of light slowly appeared on the world branch. The circle of light became clearer and clearer. "Zhenro, you're Zhenro. You're really Zhenro!" Yan Chuan shouted excitedly. Yan Chuan cried. Tears welled up in his eyes. Zhenro was alive. Zhenro was resurrected? Yan Chuan's heart trembled. His greatest regret in his previous life wasn't the destruction of his country, but the fact that Zhenro had fallen in his arms and he couldn't do anything about it. He even felt that Zhenro's soul had dissipated. But now, he discovered that Zhenro was alive again. Zhenro was alive again. Yan Chuan was so happy that he cried. The surrounding experts all had different expressions on their faces. Chapter 10:19. Yao Tianshang looked slightly excited, while Zhu looked slightly regretful. How is this possible? How is this possible? Meng Lingtian was extremely anxious in the distance. Li Si watched in silence. Yun Xian, on the other hand, sighed gently. Zhao Afang blushed as well. Was she really Zhenro? Was she the Zhenro in Yan Chuan's story in the past few months? Was she Zhenro? Zhao Afang immediately panicked. Was the person before her really her husband? Zhenro did not know what to do. Large cracks appeared on the ice in her heart again. However, things did not seem to be that simple. Just as Yan Chuan shed tears of joy and looked tenderly at Zhao Afang, the branch of the world changed again. Suddenly, another red halo appeared. Another one? Yan Chuan and Zhao Afang both looked at the halo in shock. The countless cultivators in the surroundings were extremely curious as well. Husband and wife for 2 lifetimes? Yun Xian said in surprise in the distance. Yun Xian understood what the halo meant. They had been husband and wife for 2 lifetimes. The probability was so low that it was almost impossible. 1. Another halo appeared. Husband and wife for 3 lifetimes? A cultivator from the Archaic Mysteries sect cried out. Husband and wife for 4 lifetimes? Husband and wife for 80 lifetimes? Yun Xian actually cried out when she heard that. 80 lifetimes? They had been husband and wife for 80 lifetimes? How was this possible? This was impossible. There was no chance of this happening. Yun Xian rushed over as she cried out. Zhao Afang was also dumbfounded by the records on the branch of the world. Zhenrou had already made Zhao Afang speechless. How did they suddenly become husband and wife for 80 lifetimes? 80 lifetimes? I've reincarnated 80 times? And we're actually husband and wife? Yan Chuan said in surprise. Zhao Afang seemed to have forgotten about his panic. He looked at the halo in shock. Is it wrong? There must be a mistake. Zhao Afang shook his head and refused. No, it can't be wrong. You're the life usurper. I'll stop resisting. You calculate our 80 lifetimes. We'll be husband and wife for 80 lifetimes. Yan Chuan immediately cried out. N. Zhao Afang nodded. With that, Zhao Afang's palm glowed with white light and entered the first halo. How is it? Yan Chuan asked. Zhao Afang's expression became complicated. I saw it. In the first life, you and I were the eldest son and eldest daughter of 2 feuding clans, but in the end, you were killed by both clans. Yan Chuan raised his eyebrows. In the second life, you and I are both mortals. We will grow old together and die together. In the third life, I was still a mortal. You were my disciple. We married, but the world spurned us. In the end, we both died for love. The 4th generation. In my 80th life, I am Zhenrou. Zhao Afang looked at the calculated images, and for a moment, he felt numb. The ice in Zhao Afang's heart continued to crumble. Looking at the scenes of this life, it was as if he had personally experienced it. Tears gradually flowed from his eyes. I see color. I understand what you said that day. Zhao Afang looked at Yan Chuan with a complicated expression. Zhenrou. Yan Chuan smiled happily. Husband and wife for 80 lifetimes? A total of 80 lifetimes. Although Yan Chuan could not see the dozens of previous lives, it was enough for him to understand the reality of this moment. On the side, Yun Xian's expression was complicated. You came from the immortal world. Yun Xian sighed. No, I am still Zhao Afang. Zhao Afang shook his head with tears flowing down his face. All right, as long as you are still you. Afang, come back with me. In this life, we will not be separated again. Yan Chuan took a step forward. Zhao Afang closed his eyes, as if he was struggling with the past and present lives. Just as Yan Chuan was looking forward to it, boom! There was a sudden explosion in the sky. Afang. Following the explosion, a woman's voice came from the void. Zhao Afang quivered and looked up at the sky. Countless cultivators also looked up at the sky in shock. With the woman's voice, a terrifying aura spread out, immediately causing countless cultivators in the surroundings to tremble. An immortal? And an extremely powerful one at that? Meng Lingtian's expression changed. Master. Zhao Afang looked up. A white light descended and enveloped Zhao Afang. Return. The white light spoke again. Zhao Afang's expression immediately became complicated. He turned to look at Yan Chuan. Return. The white light continued to speak. Master, disciple. Zhao Afang said with a complicated expression, tears flowing down his face. I already know about your matter. However, the common people are about to perish. Let go of your personal feelings. Let go. Let go. The voice was filled with sorrow. Zhao Afang was sobbing. However, Yan Chuan frowned and looked at the sky. You are Afang's master? Afang is my wife of 80 lifetimes. What right do you have to separate us? How can an ant know the will of heaven? The white light spoke angrily. Yan Chuan was about to reprimand him again when Zhao Afang suddenly said, "No, don't talk about my master." Yan Chuan frowned slightly. "You and I were finally able to meet, but master and grandmaster." Zhao Afang shook his head. Yan Chuan did not say anything else. 80 lifetimes, haha, 80 lifetimes. Zhao Afang's tears continued to flow. "Afang," Yan Chuan said gently. Zhao Afang bit his lips and sobbed slightly. "If fate doesn't change, I'll meet you in the immortal world." As he spoke, Zhao Afang let go of the world branch and soared into the sky. "Afang!" Yan Chuan called out. Zhao Afang's eyes were filled with tears, but he did not dare to look back. He soared into the sky, followed the white light, and disappeared in the blink of an eye. He entered the immortal world. In the immortal world. "Afang, it will be over soon." A female voice consoled him. "Master, my heart hurts." Zhao Afang sobbed. Zhao Afang left, leaving Yan Chuan alone, feeling lost. The surroundings were completely silent. After a while, Yan Chuan finally regained his composure. "Ha ha 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 ha, heaven? Immortal world? How can an ant know fate? Am I still an ant? Ha 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 ha." Yan Chuan laughed bleakly. As he laughed, Yan Chuan's expression became more and more ferocious. Not only did this attack not defeat Yan Chuan, but it also ignited Yan Chuan's ambition. Whoosh! Whoosh! One by one, figures flew over quickly. Meng Lingtian, Li Si, Dongfang Zhengpai, and Lu Jin all landed. At this moment, the archaic Arcanum Sex God-slaying life formation slowly retreated. The result was out, and the formation was no longer needed. "Your Majesty," Lu Jin said worriedly. Yan Chuan's expression slowly turned serious, and a cold, ominous glint appeared in his eyes. "I'm fine." Yan Chuan suppressed his gloominess. "Yan Di, I'm very sorry, but you can't participate in the God creation plan. At the same time, please fulfill your promise and return the world branch." Yun Xian stepped forward. Chapter 10:20. "Yan Di, I'm very sorry. You can't participate in the God-making plan. At the same time, please fulfill your promise and return the world branch." Yun Xian stepped forward. The results were out as soon as Yun Xian spoke. Yan Chuan was disqualified. Only Zhu was left. Meng Lingtian's expression was extremely ugly. However, Li Si remained silent. The officials all looked at Yan Chuan with complicated expressions. Yan Chuan slowly turned around. Because of his previous ferocious expression, his face was still filled with killing intent. Yun Xian frowned. "Sect Master Yun, I'll fulfill my promise. What about you?" Yan Chuan looked at Yun Xian. Yun Xian's wrinkled face slowly relaxed. She nodded. "Don't worry, Yan Di. Please state your second condition." Yan Chuan looked at the archaic Arcanum sect disciples and handed over the world branch. "The second condition is that no disciple of the archaic Arcanum sect can perform any divination on Great Zhen within 1,000 years. Yun Xian frowned. "Does this condition go against your beliefs?" Yan Chuan asked. Yun Xian smiled bitterly and nodded in the end. "I, Yun Xian, guarantee it." Yan Chuan nodded and handed over the world branch. Yun Xian accepted it gently with some excitement. Yun Xian checked it and immediately passed it to Archaic Arcanum sect elder behind her. The Archaic Arcanum sect disciples passed it around excitedly. However, Yun Xian bowed to Yan Chuan. "Thank you, Yan Di, for fulfilling my wish." Yan Chuan nodded gently. Then, Yan Chuan looked at Zhu. "Congratulations, Yao Di." Zhu smiled and nodded. "Thank you." Yan Chuan nodded. "Officials of Great Zhen, return with me." "Yes, Your Majesty." The officials replied in unison. Wait! Meng Lingtian suddenly called out. At this moment, Meng Lingtian was anxious. Yan Chuan was giving up on the opportunity? Why was this happening? Yan Chuan narrowed his eyes and looked at Meng Lingtian. Meng Lingtian looked at Yan Chuan with a complicated expression, then at Zhu and finally at Li Si. It was as if he regretted his wrong decision. Zhu's expression changed, and he immediately understood the problem. Meng Lingtian, did Li Si join Dezhen as a representative of Jiulu Academy? Zhu asked. Not bad. Meng Lingtian's face lit up. The Demon Imperial Dynasty is in desperate need of talents. If Li Si doesn't mind, the Demon Imperial Dynasty is willing to make you a rank 5 Earl. I wonder what the two of you think? Qi said with a smile. Yan Chuan raised his eyebrows slightly. Was Zhu trying to poach him in front of everyone? However, he couldn't be blamed. If he was in Li Si's position, he would have also spoken up. Li Si's ability was no small matter. He alone could fight against an army of millions. Haha, thank you. Li Si, why don't you join the Yao Imperial Dynasty? Meng Lingtian laughed. The Demon Imperial Dynasty, the Archaic Arcanum Sect, the Jiulu Academy, and the Lushan Academy formed a huge alliance in Meng Lingtian's heart. Such an alliance would be more stable in this chaotic world. Dongfang Zhengpai panicked. Old Meng, I look down on you. What do you know? The world is about to change. I have to think for the Jiulu Academy. Meng Lingtian shouted. Dongfang Zhengpai was about to scold him when Li Si suddenly stepped forward. Meng Lingtian. Li Si frowned. A servant does not serve two masters. I will only stay in Dezhen. My life is not for you to decide. Since I promised to repay the Jiulu Academy, I will do it. However, I will only use my own method. Li Si said solemnly. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.